We are back here in the night shift, and we got our stats. It's not the high-tech stats, Dan, but they're the stats that we can get. And in case you were wondering, and the eye test wasn't accurate, it was. Fremont did a lot of damage as Orange Viscous.
I was muted.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see also OCs on the objective damage there. You can kind of see just how like where like that all the pushing was coming in on the side lanes there to taking those walkers, because they got 2 walkers in under 15 minutes as well. So just like general problems all across the board. So I mean, nothing too much else to say about these stats, I suppose. You know, Cosmetical did do an incredibly good job. We saw that from start to finish. Had a very strong mid lane. But on the other hand, I think you'd expect to see Blob doing really well, but just couldn't get into the game as much on the Geist, and that tends to happen, I think, when the Geist isn't in that kind of priority farming position, or at least gets denied the farm.
Also, the Drifter stat line is tough. I think a lot of ganks went against Doi, and Drifter, I mean, it's a hero that enjoys a little bit of farm to actually get things going. But also, getting things going here in the night shift isn't possible without your support. I just want to give an extra special thank you to some of the tips we got towards the prize pool, specifically in the last match. Escher DL with the message, quote, "A longtime viewer, love the show and thought I'd spread the love." And Lil Brimbley with, "I need coaching from this Viscous now," many, many exclamation points. Read my YouTube super chat. I don't know the rest of it, but you know, we have a little bit of layer separation to not show the messages directly on stream, Dan, because you know, that could be dangerous. But for me, I'll happily read them out in between matches where we're at. But we got the Abrahams roster to talk about.
The Abrahams roster. Yeah, definitely a dangerous team. I think it's hard. I mean, I suppose depending on who you are, you might have a different answer if you were going to highlight one player, because there are a lot of different answers you could give. You know, some people might say Demov. Demov's considered to be maybe the best player by many. That's UZP, I think. And then some people might say Hoots, you know, because Hoot is just incredible star power, can play everything to an exceptional level. Some people might say Taz because of the just incredible Paradox performances that also just are so outsized for their position. That you could kind of just like make a case for almost everyone almost. So it's a very strong roster. That is another way to say it.
I love how the many, it's like, well, it's just like, are the many in the room with us right now? But hey, look, I will die on the hill that Demov has been probably the most consistent player in EU. Just the player that makes the impossible possible sometimes in some of these games where you go, surely that isn't going to, well, oh yeah, he did that and it worked. So Demov, you know, been part of the secret sauce for Abrahams since his departure from Buff Enjoyers. But yeah, look at the opposition. I don't know if we're going to do roster for the other side again, but if we did, low-key W, or rather, Leviathan. It's not low-key W. But yeah, I mean, for the interesting story here today, Dan, has been no empty dreams. Rayek has been in, and Rayek looked really good in the first map.
Yeah, playing that utility haze. We're going into a best of 3 now, so it will be curious to see how the priority is going to shift and how the pool will adjust. Because of course, like you said before, Empty Dreams, you know, he's got those big boots to fill, or rather, Rayash Rayek has the big boots to fulfill of these playmaking roles, positions potentially. Or does the other team just shift in how they prioritize stuff to fill in those gaps? You know, these are the annoying things that you have to do when you get a stand-in. So we'll see if Hayes is still to be a priority pick. It worked super well, like you highlighted. Or if we'll get something else from him. But otherwise, you know, across the board, definitely a strong team, and I'd expect a competitive result against Abrahams. But it is Abrahams, so stay tough.
Also, for those wondering, what's the history here on Night Shift? How good is Abrahams? Well, get ready. You're going to see a lot of 2-0s. Many 2-0s in recent memory where, you know, you had the Buff Enjoyers, Dan, of course, were the big threat for a long while and taking Abrahams to task for many a night shift. Once Buff Enjoyers left the scene, that was also one of the last times that we saw Abrahams lose a map. Also, Goo Balls did pretty well, but this iteration of Abrahams from Night Shift 14 on has been essentially invincible.
It's kind of funny too, because it's like not actually like a team logo per se, but just Abrams' portrait. So and then we've got you've got Viper's portrait there as well. So it's like, wait, what are we looking at? What is this screen showing? You know, like, are these teams, or these, you know, is this like head, you know, hero versus hero? Yeah. One day we won't be doing this anymore, ZP. One day we'll have those fancy team logos.
The funny thing is that was a very interim Abrams portrait that is their logo, because it wasn't his original portrait. He got like a 2.0 portrait that only lasted until the fully new portraits came in. He was one of the few characters in the game that actually have 3 portraits over the lifetime of the game. So a little bit Abrams portrait lore here. But Dan, I think we're ready for the draft. See what's going to be going on here. And the one thing we know about Abrahams, they do value Doorman to the point that if Leviathan, if they don't first pick it or first ban it, Abrahams will pick it.
Yeah, definitely a very justifiable first ban. And I mean, there are other first bans too that you'll always think about with Abrahams, which is going to be like a Shiv. You know, a Shiv is one too. It's very tough. It's very tough. Billy's going to be the first ban, so that's denied from Abrahams. So Abrahams get to. I wonder what they'll choose here actually for Abrahams. Who do you want to disable the most on Leviathan? That's a question.
It's an interesting question here because I don't necessarily think you ban Abrams, even though you know it's going to be the pick. No, they get rid of the Mina. They don't want to deal with Mina whatsoever. Leviathan, of course, didn't play it in the last game, but they saw enough from Cosmetical. We're going to let that go to the wayside. Leviathan, if they fall for him from the last match, they're going to pick Abrams first, and that's going to give up Doorman +1 for Abrahams, Dan. And again, I think even though Leviathan won with this draft strategy, it's questionable to me.
It's really hard. It does feel like there's no great choice. Feels like you are having to give up things, no matter which way you slice it, sadly. So yeah, the Abrahams, as you say, comes through. I mean, there's a lot of options here for Abrahams. They could try to go. Well, the Doorman is a must.
I am honored to serve at your
so
pleasure.
There we go. We get the Doorman. Are there any for Abraham's CP? Is there anything that you particularly want to see? Like you want to see a Shiv here to get that on together? Like,
yeah.
What do you think Shiv is?
No, I think you want Shiv in this instance. I mean, it was banned out in the last draft by the team that was up against Leviathan, but I mean, Together loves playing Shiv, one of the best Shiv players around, but instead they go Viscous. So the Viscous stocks are way up there. And the only explanation for this, Dan, truly, is the fact that gun build Viscous has come so into vogue. It's probably going to be even more gun build Viscous. So the discovery or rediscovery, as it were, of gun build Viscous being good is just completely amped his stocks and where he's getting picked.
Yeah, the page pickup here makes a lot of sense to me, because you do need that support. You want that. Well, it feels like somewhat of a counterbalance in Viscous's position, but as you say, because it's a gun Viscous, they perform very differently at this point. But Page is nice because you're going to be able to really soup up that front line. You're going to have a lot of way stronger earlier lanes, and now that you've got the Shiv on board as well, you've the Page Shiv, Page Abrams. That's a nasty combo.
This is really good. I think for Leviathan, if you're going to give up Doorman, this is probably the best rebound you're going to get. I think Page is really strong. I think Page works really well with tankier heroes. You can now like lane the Page with either Shiv or the Abrams. Abrahams, of course, are really comfortable playing Yamato. It's been one of their go-tos as far as their front line is concerned. What I'd like to see from Leviathan here, though, in terms of bans is, I don't know, would Abrahams go Viscous, Kelvin? I think they would, based on how Viscous is being played. You know Saint can go Kelvin if you're trying to give more power to your front line. I wouldn't hate a Kelvin ban here. I don't know if Abrahams is necessarily going to go for it, but it is in their toolkit. So Kelvin ban would be interesting to me here.
They banned out the haze, so Leviathan can't go back to that, which does, as we said, it could put a stretch on the fact that you've got a sub. And that was clearly, a comfortable workaround. And now it's gone. Pocket gets banned, which is really nice because Leviathan would have been super susceptible to the affliction shenanigans from a pocket. So that's a great ban coming on in. And now for Abrahams, how do they want to respond? There's no pick. Paradox, maybe? Is that going to be what we see coming in here?
Paradox or Task seems reasonable in the situation it is going to be here, but instead it's going to be Kelvin. So I was going to go, you need a Saint hero. And Saint hero, based on what's left here, would be either Kelvin or Vindicta. They go with the Kelvin. And that kind of goes back to the ban strategy here, where I think for Leviathan, banning Kelvin may have been a really good ban here for what Abrahams wants to play, but also you are running Shiv. Getting rid of Pocket is pretty respectable too. But picking the Paradox here, Dan, this is interesting because, again, it puts a little bit more tension on the Abrahams hero pool, or maybe Tass is going to be on the Doorman anyways. They kind of swap up who is on the Doorman. We've seen Demov play it. We've seen Hoot play it. We've seen Tass play it. But now, in a sense, Abrahams almost kind of has to put Tass on the Doorman, or maybe a Holiday.
I could see a Lash coming on through for Abrahams as well. Maybe Hoot playing the Lash. I think Lash would be kind of nice against this roster, you know, especially now they got Vindicta. You know, Lash could be great to catch Vindicta, Shiv, Paige Abrams. Also, you banned Haze, so you don't have to worry about one of the counters to Lash, which would be having the Haze with the Sleep Daggers. So I think a Lash would be a nice pickup.
God, right?
And there we go.
Well, here I am.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, especially, again, if your plan was to run a Lash, and you saw what happened in the last game where Captain was having trouble. Was getting a lot of sleeps on otherwise good Death Slam attempts, so you get rid of that threat. And, you know, based on the hero pool, I think it actually may be Rayek on the Vindicta this time around. As Abrahams, they round things up here with Victor, where I'm torn on Victor. I think, obviously, if you get ahead of the game, Victor's pretty good. I think his competitive success, it's variable. I feel like there's just as many games where he falls flat on his face as he does take over the game.
Let's have fun.
Definitely nice with the Kelvin. So yeah, this is going to be a really nice or interesting game with the front line of Leviathan versus the front line of Abrahams. I'm liking Leviathan's roster quite a lot. I like that we get the Vindicta. I think Oberkim being able to play the Vindicta is really, really fun. We'll have to see how it works in practice, because he's not a Aiden Vindicta, which is a bit of a different story, but still very good.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see who's playing what for Leviathan. I think there's a few, like Obakim, you know, maybe could even be on the page, could be on the Vindicta if it's old school buff enjoyers. You know, what's Rake going to play? You know, there's a few questions to be answered here for Leviathan's roster. Abrahams, though, you take a look at the comp they've put together here, and I'm just kind of weighing, who do I like in the late game? And it's actually rather close here, Dan. I think maybe if you had to push me a bit more towards Abrahams because of objective control of Doorman and how ridiculous Victor can get, and, you know, Yamato's still pretty good late, and Gun Viscous. But Leviathan isn't really a slouch late either when you think about late game Shiv, when you think about late game Geist, and, you know, opportunities you're still going to have with Paradox. So overall, this is one of the more balanced drafts I think we've had in terms of win conditions.
Yeah, I'm excited to see exactly how it plays out. I think I like this a lot more than I thought I was going to. I was thinking that going into this, Abrahams would have a big draft advantage, but I kind of like what Leviathan has landed on. I think, like you said, it just comes down to who's going to kind of play what, and how the roles have shifted based on the stand-in situation for Leviathan. But ultimately, I'm super happy with this, and we don't get to see a Victor every day. And the fact that he's paired with a Kelvin is really quite worrisome. You know, it's going to be very hard to kill Victor. And if you're in the Kelvin dome with the Victor, like, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about the Abrahams comp that I think is really worrisome for Leviathan is that, how do you win an urn battle as Leviathan, realistically?
True,
like, you look at this up, okay, I want to go, what was your checklist to go earn? Well, they have a Kelvin. If they have control, they're going to Domus out. Oh, they have a Doorman, so they have 8 million different ways to turn in urn. Oh, and if we grab the urn first, they have a Viscous who can single-handedly contest from a mile away with Puddle Punch. So the urn and objective control for Leviathan is probably the part of this draft that is the most dangerous to me, because I think on any remotely even fight, Abrahams just wins for objectives specifically, because you don't really have the tools from Leviathan to deal with Doorman, Viscous, Kelvin. But if you win your lanes, if you get a sizable lead of around 15 or 20,000, then you can kind of ignore some of that and just run at Abrahams and win. So I think that's the dangerous part here for Leviathan, is that they've kind of drafted a comp that for objective play, they actually need to be ahead to properly play some of these fights.
Agree. On another note, ZV, do you want to see my mouse I'm using?
What mouse are you using right now?
Using this, ZV.
Ooh.
It's how
all
small
the
it
speed
is.
holes that we've got here. The
Look how
mouse
small it
meta.
is.
That is really small.
It's awesome. Become my main.
That is actually incredibly small.
Is it? Yeah, it is very small.
Wait. What is going on here? Then let's
Like
get
half the
compete with
size.
the. Yeah,
of an
let's
actual
compete with
mouse.
the new mouse I was telling you about, where this is unsponsored, by the way. But if you're listening, we would
unsponsored.
love to have you as a sponsor.
This is a regular size mouse, and a non-regular. This is OP18K, and
Yeah.
this is this tiny mouse.
And make a joke here is like, Dan, congratulations! I didn't know you were expecting a kid. You know, child's first mouse coming on up. But yeah, that's, God. Mice have gotten lighter and smaller. But also, there's a new mouse coming up from Logitech that apparently is supposed to take like 20 milliseconds off your click time. To be verified, by the way. Unsponsored.
Yeah, we shall see about that.
But Abraham's the Leviathan coming on up, Dan, and we'll see if this is the week that Leviathan can finally break down Abraham's. I'll be honest, in terms of channel points, I put 3,000 channel points on Leviathan. I like the odds. One of these days it's going to work out.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting game. I really like their draft, so it's going to be fun to see how it pans out. You know, definitely a good performance on that first map. But they're against Abrams, completely different beast. So let's start off with the lane assessment, the analysis. What do you think is going to be happening based off of these lanes?
Well, you got the old classic, the Vin Abrams lane. It's an old lane, but it checks out. One of the more powerful lanes you can run. Still against Viscous, nothing is guaranteed. Off in the middle lane, Paradox, Geist versus Doorman Yamato. And the poke for Doorman Yamato, Dan, gonna be off the charts. Also, Shiv Page is just going in on the right-hand side. Like, they're already at Guardian and being about as aggro as you can be, which, you know, makes a bit of sense for how that lane dynamic plays out. You know, Shiv, or rather Kelvin Victor, takes a little bit longer to be threatening.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the performance out of Rayek. So I'm not sure, honestly, I'm still convinced how to say the name. Every time I look at it, I'm like, Rayesh, what? I don't know what to do. My brain can't interpret it.
Like, Rayek makes sense until we are told otherwise, in which case we will pivot. It's just one of those calls you got to make until you get the true
what about
pronunciation. Wait, you said Ray. I didn't hear you or the sounds of Gunman just shouting. It was a very soft pronunciation.
Ray. What about Ray?
Just Ray.
Like a ray of sunshine.
I can see it. Also, you know who's not feeling very sunny right now is OCs. That was a big chunk of poke damage here into the middle. We'll see how this lane goes out. Again, I'm curious on the right-hand side as you see Shiv and Paige just being very deep on some of the harasses together. Finds OC's first pick.
Well, I'm also curious about how Hoot will build the Viscous. You know, if there is any diversion of the typical meta to be seen, it's going to be coming from Hoots. A nice dive from Together, and you know, Together was one of the players I didn't mention in the draft, but you know, he's also like the Together Shiv is iconic, but the Together Yamato also quite iconic. And Yamato actually fell out of favor for quite some time in a meta where Shiv was heavily valued. So either Shiv was getting banned and he was playing something else, or you know, anyway, the point is that we just wouldn't see the Together Yamato as much ZP. So we're in for a treat here, I think. Also,
Leviathan, they're trying to make up for some of the lost advantage here, where Together to get those 2 kills, paid an HP tax for it, and is actually just going to pay the tax back at base. That's a full retreat. So we'll see if this is going to turn into pressure and a kill onto Task, but Doorman, not the easiest pickoffs. Back here to the right-hand side, though, where every time you look at the right-hand side minimap, it has just been free mock, applying pressure from the deep left. It's been kind of a troublesome lane for Sanya and Saint, but so far they've weathered the pressure pretty well so far, Dan.
Well, I wonder if we'll have as slower starts as the previous map.
Well, you know, while things are slow, you see the prize pool in the upper right. You can type !donate and add to the prize pool yourself. We'll read out your message on stream so long as it's not particularly offensive. And for the !donate, all of it goes directly to the players playing today. And that number, of course, is split between NA and EU. Already got some big donations in earlier, but your support super, super appreciated. As back in the middle we go. Together has reclaimed all of his HP, Dan, back into the lane. And we'll see if Obakim is able to find a way through. Has been some pretty unrelenting middle pressure against him and OCs.
Yeah, certainly has been so far. OCs is definitely someone I'm looking to hopefully see a better game from than the previous one. I think he just got a bit targeted in the last game. Being on Geist is very interesting. Together's going to get some punishments. And ironically, it will be the Shiv in free mock that will be doing that.
Shiv, I think Fremont set that up, where Fremont's been playing out of lane a lot of this game to where it kind of disguised his gank attempt, where people probably didn't even realize he had left lane. So just by disguising how he was playing in lane, he gave himself the perfect cover to go in middle, and that was some much needed help for Leviathan because their middle lane was kind of getting dunked on, Dan.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. Oh, the vitality buff is a nice one for a Shiv to find. It's going to be fairly unkillable at this point.
That's just giving a supervillain a nuclear bomb. It's like giving your Oreos milk to go along with it. I mean, you can't get a better combination than Shiv with vitality in early game lane pressure. So yeah, that gets rough. But Cube coming out. Overseas not looking to overstay his welcome as he walks out. There's some of the fire here. Death Slam though coming out in turn here from Dimov, looking for the punish on the Rake. 300 HP, lands the parry under pressure. Still gonna go down, but takes a little bit more damage off Dimov for the attempt.
Leading Overseas all alone here to try to save this lane. Overseas, oh, okay, hello. Overseas is going to get stunned, and he's going to get finished off as well. So really big pickups early on here for the likes of Dimov and Hoots. Abraham's looking good here in this opening. Really, Fremont, who is looking particularly nice so far from Leviathan with some of the Shiv play. From OCs, it's been more passive, just looking to maintain stable control of that mid lane. And I think, again, yeah, OCs, if he can get really, really farmed off of this Geist, we're going to see some great stuff. But we'll have to see if that farm will be available. Nice swap coming on through, though.
Yeah, the swap going to immediately force out the Shout transformation together, though. Wants to get a little bit more value from it before it's done. Instead, takes the quick escape offered by Tass. So into the middle, Rayake dropping the snipe, nearly taking off Together's head. But hey, just because you get forced that lane doesn't mean you can't break a few presents on your way back to base.
It still works. I do feel like uncomfortably like we're past the holiday now. I want to forget about it. See, I'm going to bring it up again right now.
What is it? There's only, what, like 345 shopping days left until Christmas?
Yeah. Yeah. Come on, guys, let's sort it out, shall we? Sort it out. Don't be lazy. Come on, get your decorations down. Get your Christmas tree dealt with. Have you dealt with your CP? Is it still in the lounge? What's going on?
Yeah, the Christmas tree is still up. It is not.
No, CP. Come on.
I got no excuse aside from I just haven't felt like moving it yet, Dan. That's just where the Christmas tree is.
You got to get that thing composted. Come on, CP. Get it recycled. Where are you taking it?
Well, it's a plastic tree. Yeah, it's as sad as I am to say, it's not a fresh tree. But we still got Fremont on the tail end of a supervillain arc here. Vitality buff nearly gone. Over the Rake, though, getting hit from all sides. Gun, Viscous, and Dimov combining to be a little bit of anti-air. And they're not done yet. Overseas, next one on the chopping block, perhaps. No puddle punch, no problem. Just the goo continues to spray as Overseas has to back out.
Yeah, it feels like a pretty strong start overall, actually, for Abrahams. Just across the board, they're looking quite nice. Notably, Dimov, has been having a really good start with Bash, which is very dangerous.
Victor, shocking reanimation, gonna go away, and they're looking for seconds, perhaps. Maybe not, though. He's by his tower, and Fremont realizes now he's not immortal. The vitality buff has finally gone away, but was able to still convert it into a kill onto Saint. Overall, though, rotations calming down a little bit as you look at mid here, and the Guardian's starting to get below half, so at the point where one more kill could easily open things up for Abrahams.
Very spirity build there from Hoots, as expected. Especially if you get the right setups with and in fact, actually, we interviewed Hoot, I think, from a match previously where he played the Lash and just actually one-shotting people, and he was just saying how much fun that was for him. And so, so it is no surprise to see him on this this Lash again, and just finding a build that is going to essentially one-shot people if you find the right setups. So that's going to be an ever-present danger.
Once more, the dive comes in on the right and the over-rotation into middle, so Leviathan making the right plays in the early game. Remember that as we set this up here, Dan, I think Leviathan, they actually need to come out of lane phase here a bit ahead. Otherwise, the tools that Abrahams has for Earn, it's just a little bit too much to deal with. But they get the pressure on the mid off the rotation. They're the first ones to get mid Guardian, but their HP is low enough that with the Amato and Doorman coming back in, it may be a very quick counter take onto the Guardian.
All right, well, this mid tower is starting to take some damage for Leviathan. Be careful of that.
Dive on the OCs. Look at the map right now. That is so deep into lane. OC's in real danger. Getting helped by the Guardians. A little bit on life drain. No way. Guys with the bomb. Down goes together. Gets the kill, but it turns into a trade. Just the right amount of counterplay coming in from OCs to, you know, turn that into a trade rather than an outright loss.
Disgusting aggression. Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, well, we've got some more pressure coming in on this right side lane, but the assistance in from Taz on the Doorman is going to make life a little bit harder for Freemok, because Freemok has to respect this. He's going to be falling back just in the nick of time here before he gets shut down by Doorman. You can, I think, put it in the Baroness Hotel. Yeah, that ult is actually up at this point. Captivating Reed coming on through as the fight is turned across the other way. Gets the catch there with the stake very briefly. Does Ray on Saint.
We're going to run into the trouble zone here, Dan, which is that Abraham's, they've been taking the task by Leviathan in some of these lane battles and on a mechanical level. But Abraham's gets to go into the part of the game that we know they're going to be good at based on their comp, which is earn. And clearly, when you take a look at how Leviathan is positioning, they actually want a full fight earn, but this could be a disaster where, okay, you have the door into Frozen Shelter, and the urn is immediately turned in. Does it turn into a punish on kills? What we'll have to see. They're fighting inside the Frozen Dome. Shout transformation is used. Killing Blow comes out. Not enough to take down the Kelvin. The Kelvin gonna live a little bit longer. Freemok dying in turn. Ends up being a 1-for-1 trade, but one trade here, Dan, where on the other end, it's Abraham's that got the full urn.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good point that this utility that they have by picking up Kelvin, and I think Abraham's is probably the best team in the world to make the full usage of the creativity you get from the doors and the domes, and it does create a lot of combat potential and lots of setups around mid boss, all sorts of things. But Snipes coming on through here as the fight in middle continues. Oh, Hoot very low, and the finishing blows are made from Ray, who will unfortunately not get the finishing blow off the assassinate, but a kill is a kill, and they're going to try to fan back out now, try to fall off of this one and make sure that they don't overextend, and we will get them falling back to safety. And in the meantime, we get the thievery.
Yeah, the combined double steal onto the Gamba from Leviathan. Are they gonna be able to get out? That'd be huge. And yeah, they steal the Gamba and they walk away. Nice micro decision on the macro play coming in for Leviathan. Again, I think the issue that they're just gonna keep running into here, though, Dan, is that the game is even despite these good micro plays. A lot of that comes down to the fact that they weren't able to prevent earn, and in 2.5 minutes, you're going to have the same dilemma with the urn, even if they get first urn control. So the objective play is probably the hardest equation for Leviathan to deal with in this game.
Yeah, I really like this approach strategically from Abraham's, that they have so much command over that objective, because I totally agree. It does feel like this kind of like helplessness that exists here for their opponents of Abraham's. That said, you know, together we'll go down for the tower, so that is at least a nice conversion. But again, as you say, you know, all that Abraham's really have to do is just keep things fairly even and don't take too many risks, and then just leverage that massive advantage they have on the objectives when the urn spawns, and that's when they can look for fights.
Leviathan, though, they've been doing quite a bit of invading here and looking for Hoot. Freemok, pretty healthy. Hoot, not so much. I don't know how you decapitate a globulous blob, but you know, you make it happen as the assassinate in from afar, taking down most of Sanya's HP together, trying to even the tide here in off the flying strike. But if you chase down the Vindicta, you're going to get a face full of Shiv, and no one really wants that, Dan.
No. No.
Our blue walker is under attack.
Chat's going to disagree. There's going to be many people being like, I want a face full of Shiv. Smile. But we will simply disregard that.
Headed to Greenwich.
It's usually the right move. It always works like a charm. Okay, well, Together's going to be forcing out that Shadow Transformation underneath the pressure of the Shiv, Mr. Freemok. And there is a walker pressure here, and we do have the unspawning in 40 seconds. And do we have the ults up for that? Yes, we do. Everything is up. The Doorman ults, the Kelvin Dome is up as well. So we're going to be in this territory again that you're describing, ZP, of objective advantage for Abrahams.
If you're Leviathan, you want to pick here and now. This is one way you can win Earn. You get pickoffs here to where Abrahams is down players as the Earn comes in. I think that's a little bit on the early side, though. D-Mob is going to be very healthy by the time Earn pickoff comes in, but this is the time to be aggressive. We'll see if it pays off. Doorman Cart going to send a very healthy Abrams off on his way. And, you know, get Leviathan congregating more on the right-hand side, but buffs are coming up here now. Left side buff going to be property of Hoot. Right side buff going over to Leviathan. And the Earn spawn is on the right side that Leviathan is spending most of their effort right now, Dan, on keeping pushed up and having control of.
Yeah, and it's an interesting dynamic because what makes it really strong to have the Earn control with the doors and the Kelvin Dome and everything, you know, is that trick is not only used or only useful in isolation of that particular objective or the mid objective. Like, you know, just setting up fights later into the game as well. There's obviously a lot of shenanigans that you can do with both of those abilities. So it's interesting. Leviathan are very dangerous at the moment. You know, there's not really much of a soul lead, but at the same time, Abrahams are unable to find ways to. Oh, sorry, Leviathan are unable to find ways to get ahead in the interim. And I think that's the problem because that's where they should be stronger.
The skirmish should be good if they're able to take down Sanya. The shocking reanimation already used. They have to use Dome to keep him up and alive. Also, Earn fight is going on at the same time. We have split action across the map here. And, oh, Death Slam somehow pulls Vindicta out. That is brutal. I can't believe that still took on the Rayek. All the while, Victor, 100 HP, no more reanimation, goes for the jump start, and no, not enough to keep him alive. On the other side of the map, though, you got Freemock, you have the Earn, it's gonna be Leviathan getting the Earn, the split fight working in their favor, and what was to be the Abraham's bread and butter of objective control doesn't work their way this time, Dan.
Yeah, great stuff from Leviathan, making what we thought was kind of a given, not really a part of the equation anymore, able to get that steal. Able to get, or rather increase the lead ever so slightly as well, is such a good sign. And I think looking at their draft is pretty scary. So this is the kind of advantage that they certainly need. But still, for both sides, all three walkers are up. And if we just cast our minds back to the previous game, Leviathan were able to take down 2 walkers by the 15-minute mark. So, you know, it just goes to show how it's very, very hard to push. And also, you don't want to make that mistake and mistakenly push or overextend into a Walker's EP and then give up at one fight, because that could really make an enormous difference when you're playing against Abrahams.
Especially with the team comps that both teams are running, I really don't think Leviathan wants to fall behind. I mean, not that any team wants to fall behind, but it'd be more devastating for them. But they're in a really good spot right now, Dan. They're almost to the part where they can bully objectives a little bit more. And again, they're just kind of staying on the right-hand side of the map, looking for the opportunity to turn this advantage into a full-on Walker push. We'll see here. Is D-Mov caught? See overseas chasing down D-Mov, who D-Mov's just been a bit of a threat on the skyline. You know, get Shiv on the harassment into knockdown. Doesn't quite clear it. The swap comes in from the back. D-Mov goes down. And as a result, maybe this is going to be the time that you're able to get Walker from it. Although while this is going on, we got together taking a piece of mid-Walker in favor of Abrahams.
Yeah, really big pickup here, looking to be found. The entire team is here, though. I don't know that they'll be able to stop it. That Shadow Transformation, just enough to get the Walker down. That's really good work to make that trade happen. And 3k difference between these two sides. And the thing that's worrying me here, ZP, now that we actually see the attempt onto the mid-Walker, in fact, I don't have time to finish that thought. The attempt onto the mid-Walker is very much contested.
You have to go mid-boss here. That was a huge macro win for Abrahams if nothing comes out of it. But you lose Obakim from the poke! The viscous poke is actually pretty intense. Here we go, Rejuve coming on down. You still have Page Ult in reserve. All Pandemonium coming on in. The Dome comes out right as the Page Ult comes in. The Rejuve frozen on out. 2 Rejuve charges here, the Abrahams. That's a clean sweep for Abrahams. We're able to slow down the Rejuve fight. It works in their favor. And Leviathan unable to get a single charge. They lose Flammable on the after effects. Swap comes in a little bit late as OC's trying to make anything happen. Maybe get a Rejuve charge. Can't even get that. But the Frozen Shelter timing from Saint. The story of the hour there, Dan, as you see the charge come in from Page and does absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking there for Leviathan. I don't think by any stretch, though, you know, are they going to be out of the game off of the back of that? I think they still have a lot going for them, but this gives so much more control here. And we talked about how difficult it is to push these walkers. Having rejuves now is going to make it a much more confident affair, as we will see this right side walker getting bursted down. And there is definitely a defense here to try to stop this, to prevent this from happening. Find some pickoffs here as the player on the door continues. But looks like Abrahams will respect it.
They might have Saint. Saint's really, really low. Okay, they got the rejuve, and are they going to be able to stop the double down? Saint gets back up immediately. Still no frozen dome, so not exactly full strength, but you got together, making a bit of space here. In off the return fire, half HP, but job may have been done enough. Look at the mini-map. Saint was able to get away, and okay, maybe a little bit greedy here. You're getting chunked for that. Yeah, you're going to lose the rejuve charge, and you might be losing even more together, overplaying the hand at the moment.
Yeah, that's a big overextension. And, you know, one thing I wanted to mention previously, although I should hold that thought, we might get a chase down continuing here. 4 players from Leviathan looking to chase down the rest of Abrahams as they try to fall off of that deeper position here, looking to convert these kills as they run away. Who gets the pickup in the meantime? He's going to be bringing that across for Abrahams. But will Abrahams be able to keep these players up who are now looking to defend from their walker? They've been pushed all the way down the lane, and that is the lane that the needs to be deposited into. At the same time, we've got OCs on that guy solo pushing the left side walker. Lots of problems on the map here. Who is going to go to try to intercept the left side? And in the meantime, the drop-off has been now protected by Leviathan, stalling out the urn drop-off for now.
However, now that Abraham's had the ability to lick their wounds a little bit, get back into, you know, everyone being alive, they still have earned control. Victor just hit a huge power spike and Infuser. They just get the walk over, and we'll see the contest. The charge comes out, but so does Frozen Dome. Frozen Dome, Death Slam. D-Mob down and over. The contest still coming out here from Leviathan. Still one rejuve charge here for Abrahams. Leviathan, we'll see if they're able to make this happen instead. Victor, he's pumped. He's ready to go. Has the Infuser, and for the most part, now looking for just space creation as the urn gets turned in.
Yeah, and does get turned in. And in the meantime as well, OC's, you know, had to respect who was on that left side. So OC's didn't get much work done against that walker. And now, once again, the chase coming on through from Leviathan here. We've got the Shiv Shenanigans Fremont connecting those knives, doing all of that damage, getting the chunks taken out of his opponents, and needs the assistance to come on through. There's a lot of good healing coming on here for Abrahams, but they're getting kind of low on a couple players, and it seems very hard to finish off these kills. And so it looks like it's going to be quite troublesome. Victor comes back on in from Sanya Sniper. There's the shocking reanimation as he is forced to try to fight by himself against the Paradox, against the Page, but he doesn't like that one, has to hide in the underground. And there comes the snipes in here onto Sanya Sniper. That's going to force the rejuve to come on through. That's the final rejuve charge, and there surely is no way to survive this. There's so many players just beating up on Victor.
They're low at the end of it, but there's no extra follow-through to finish what the Victor had started. So Leviathan, honestly, really scrappy play right now, Dan, for being down the rejuve to end at overall only down 5k and not giving up any additional walkers. Remember, they lost the mid-walker pretty gutsy play from Leviathan to not have this get way, way out of hand for what could have been the moment that won Abrahams the game.
Well, and there's the glass cannon onto Hoot for the Viscous. And on the other side of things, OC's just hit 30k. Well, I think it's when you get to like 34, 35k as the Geist, you start to get the full Spellslinger like build on board, essentially. I think that's when you're kind of getting or purchasing that Spellslinger. So that's when I think OC starts to become extremely dangerous. Okay, he's already got the Spellslinger in, but they're actually lacking 3 slots at the moment because they don't have any walkers yet. So that's definitely a problem that they need to remedy sometime soon.
Tess is in danger. He thought the door would get him out of danger, but not quite, not with that much pressure. Fremont and Flammable just swarming all over. Now, the benefit of this pick is not immediately apparent. You don't have the objectives on the map. The lanes aren't pushed to where you can instantly go for walker pressure. But if you look at Obakim has swap up, and yeah, lands a swap. Looking for a little bit extra. I don't know if people are in position to follow up on this exactly. No, not quite. But still, the pressure that's being put on for Leviathan to where Abrahams can barely be in their jungle without something happening, it's really good, Dan.
It is. Look at the map presence as well right now from Leviathan. they're actually 1k ahead now. You know, like I think it was a great point you were making. It's just looking at the repercussions of the mid boss. It's not a great look for Abrahams. The fact that they were not able to convert more deeply off of that, and you know, one of those moments I think of is together. You know, maybe going a bit too aggressive and getting picked off for free. But here we go. The push into the right side Walker is now Leviathan trying to open up one of those slots there.
Oh, it's
OCs would
3.
love that. That's massive. 4-player death slam.
The knockdown, though, may have made it livable. Towards the end, Dimov not able to be his own fall through. The Anvil actually taming the worst of that. Leviathan still absolutely okay. They punish Tass on the back end. They still have the captivating charge ready to go. Dimov together both actually get caught towards the end as the Walker goes down. Yes, they trade off the Walker on the left-hand side. And we'll see Sanya able to get OCs while this is going on. But again, Leviathan so far coming out a little bit better there as the machine gun Viscus does not quite take down Vindicta this time.
Yeah, Hoot is dangerous, and I think, you know, Hoot is a big saving grace right now. But I mean, this is looking very grim, I think, right now for Abrahams. They're in a lot of trouble. The urn is now being couriered across the map there by Flammable, so that should be a turn in if there's some assistance, and they should be able to get the Walker as well. This could be a mega conversion of value here for Leviathan as EP.
Uh-oh. Kelvin inside the dome, and oh, the shot misses! The carbine not hitting its target, but while this has gone on, while Abrahams is still down and players, wait, they have Urn, they were gonna go for Urn, they go, wait. Do we mid-boss? And, wait. Right now, it's waiting a little bit longer than I expected. I thought maybe an instant mid-boss turn, maybe an Urn turn, but instead, maybe want a piece of Victor. We'll see. Abraham's actually being given a lot of time here, Dan, to reestablish, so that's interesting. I mean, people had the buy, but I think there was a window to get the Urn turn in.
It did look like there was if they just fully committed to it, but I think with mid-boss coming up as well, maybe there was some hesitation as to which, as you were saying, like just trying to game out those two different decisions. But at the same time, the mid-boss is a tricky one because, you know, with Doorman setups, with Kelvin Dome as well, do you want to fight that? You know, because that could be something that really evens up the game. So maybe for Leviathan, you don't even want to go for the mid-boss. You want to try to win the game or try to win it away from your opponents if they're doing it.
Well, they force out the shout transformation early, add it together. Fremok under the gun, pops return fire. Urn gets turned in during some of this chaos, by the way. That just slipped in by Flammable as Abrahams tries to go for picks in the middle. They may be able to get Obakim, who's really low off the rip. They get Obakim, but if all they get is Obakim, I don't know if you can go mid-boss 6-on-5 here. I think Abrahams may try. But Leviathan isn't that wounded, and yeah, they're going mid-boss up 1. This could be dangerous. Leviathan is really rich right now, Dan. They can fully contest.
Yeah, Dome is up as well for Abrahams, so this is going to be a very, very difficult moment. This could be a very important one for Abraham, so they need all of these rejuves here. As they fall from the sky, in they come. The Dome is laid down there by Saint as they try to secure this one. Bouncing in the Dome there is causing problems. This is why Abrahams is so strong on the objectives, but who gets it? The parries come on through. There's a knockdown as well, and the captures go one apiece for now, as it's a massive battle in this one. As in the pit, it's just a case of trying to do as much as you possibly can. Everyone is turned up for this one, and now the kills are traded out, and it's looking pretty even on here. There's no rejuves left to speak of.
All rejuves gone. Leviathan was able to get 2 of them. Fremok in on the cleanup. This is a healthy shiv. You love this towards the end of a battle. And most of Abrahams, of course, is cleared out. So for a mid-boss contest, Leviathan doing all the right things there. And I think to the setup there, Dan, that just was not the best setup for Abrahams at all. Just getting Paradox. I mean, Obakim's useful, but probably one of the least impactful people in terms of a mid-boss contest relative to, say, a Fremok or an OC. So the advantage for Abrahams was not that big, and Leviathan actually has a pretty reasonable soul lead. So taking a look at that, that was definitely a fight you can make good in a 5-on-6, and Leviathan certainly did that there.
And now the cleanup across the map is going to continue. This left side Walker gets cleaned up. There's not really too much to do to stop that one. And there's a decent amount of farm on the map that can be consumed as well by Leviathan to get that soul advantage really singing in their favor. And it's going to go from bad to worse here. 20k advantage is forming now for Leviathan, which is, I think, one of the biggest advantages they've had, maybe the biggest they've had so far. And with no rejuves now to speak of, with the Urn really out of the picture for now, it's going to be spawning in about a minute. Abrahams are really, truly, I think, in the worst position they've been in so far in this game.
In the worst position they've been in months. as far as map play goes, this is very losable. Where, by the way, I'm thinking about my channel points, Dan. I put 3,000 channel points on Leviathan this game. I'm thinking about generational wealth within the channel point context.
I see vindictive.
Telling you. It's good
Well,
times.
the interesting thing is that Abrahams are in a spot where they need to find a good risk to take. And okay, there's going to be a catch there with the Paradox. The swap comes on through. Together's looking for something, for a follow-up, for a chase. But you look at the Leviathan. They're falling off of this one. They know they've been caught out. They're going to try to reset.
Abraham still may want a piece of it, but okay, they decide no. I actually think that was more of a defensive swap. You take a look at the angle of that fight and how it was going down. Demov was looking for Death Slam there, and it was Obakim that just goes for the swap midway through, screws up the angle and the momentum that Demov had to go for the Death Slam. Because where Obakim was positioned, that wasn't a I want you to immediately get jumped swap. That was much more of a reactionary, don't kill my team swap. So actually very on point from Obakim.
I see the enemy.
It's a moment of quiet for you to enjoy ZP here as things get a little bit calmer for the moment.
Right
Never mind.
inside. No calm. Only Death Slam. In the ground strike into Page is dead. Big pick off here for 75 seconds. Puts this right walker much more in the contest, and we'll see how heavy Abrahams comes in here. Try and take advantages together. The zip line flying Yamato tech. Has to immediately shout transform here though, and does he go deeper yet?
Well, lots of burst damage onto this Walker, so that's certainly going to get taken out there, which is nice. Together, flying strike there. But he's going to find Shiv. I don't think that's the person you want to get connected onto, and just straight through the time war on the swap, and that's the silence. That's not going too well. Abrahams with a great charge coming on through as well. Well, Abrams. Let's overseas there on the Abrams.
Frozen Shelter comes out, and Fremont is all about it. Killing blow after killing blow coming on in. 3 dead from Abrahams, and I'm still beside myself. I can't believe together when he was at like 2/3 HP but had no shout transform and says, yeah, I want a piece with Paradox waiting in the wings. You end up giving up your life, you give up the urn, and now Leviathan, they're at a near 30,000 lead here, Dan. This is massive and could be the start of the first time Abrahams has dropped a map in, I think, over 2 months.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely something around there for sure. Yeah, it's looking really, really good. I love these team fights here from Leviathan, doing a fantastic job. And, you know, Hoot, try as he may to be this very threatening force on the Viscous, on the damage side of things. I mean, OC's is at 50k souls now, so, you know, good luck against that. A great swap, though, onto Demov. It's going to catch him on the lash. Looks like he should be able to escape, though.
Right now, Leviathan trying to make the most of this, get some Guardians down, and is Shrines something that is doable here. They're getting damage onto the right-hand Shrine now. No, Shrines are a bit tankier than they were a month ago back, but the reward for killing them is so much sweeter. Still, Leviathan, they've been in good spots like this before, and what has to be going through their mind right now is don't throw in, okay, quick trip to the luxury of the Baroness Hotel here for OC's. What welcoming party is going to be waiting here on the backside? And absolutely none. The checkout committee isn't here. The bellhop is running for the fences. And Leviathan, they still want some of the shrines here while Demov is dead.
Yeah, still staying in the base here, looking to cause all the havoc, chaos, devastation. But who coming in on that Viscous there gets a rescue beamed as he's in the cube. That was actually so perfect timing to keep him alive. And that's actually pretty important because they're still fighting this one. They might be able to actually force out Leviathan, who are trying to just destroy this base here. And Leviathan are actually back in front of the base now. They've had to escape, and these are some good connections, though. The turnaround on Together is once again going to provide an excellent dispatching of him.
Obakim just has a picture of Together on his wall with a red X through it right now, Dan, because I feel like every swap we have seen that's been impactful, Together has been victim number 1. 2 dead right now for Abrahams. Demov is going to be late to any mid-contest, mid-boss for Leviathan. If they get it, surely the game would likely be in their favor, but they go for the fake instead. They want the team fight here up on top, Dan. Are they going to be able to take it? We'll see. No, they've gone back to the mid-boss.
Yeah, so much confidence. They were ahead. They've got to play it down and Together. And OC's is just super ready with full spell singer stacks. Are looking to cause problems here, but there comes just basically everything in the kitchen sink straight on top of the pit to see if they can deny the Rejuve crystals as Leviathan get every single one. And this should really be the death knell for Abrahams. One last death slam perhaps for Hoop, but he gets swapped out of it, and it's just going to be so problematic. Ray looking for the snipes, and it's an absolutely cleaned up mid-boss.
Massive, the frozen shelter a little bit late to contest. All 3 rejuve charges going the way of Leviathan. Demob taking it to the back of the noggin. And here we go, Dan. The first map that Abrahams might have dropped in so long, now on the precipice for Leviathan. Last Shrine, soon the fall, and first stage Patron. You can't imagine there's much gas in the tank to defend it now.
Yeah, there's really not all that much that is here to stop this. This is going to be it. They can finish it off. They got the rejuve crystals here. They're going to be able to take the first stage Patron down. They can stay in. It doesn't matter. They've done it. They've done all the hard work here, ZP. It's a huge differential, a 50k difference in souls. And OC's 54k. He's out of this world strong. And then overseas not far behind are 50k Abrams. You're not killing him.
Leviathan staying in for the finish. No fear whatsoever. The Patron goes down and Abrahams can bleed. Leviathan up 1-0 here in the EU money match. It is a new year, Dan, and maybe it didn't happen on the first show of the year, but Leviathan proving they can play, and they do it without empty dreams, which is not a storyline I would have believed at all prior to this day.
It's a great point. You would expect that, hey, there'd be some holes in how they have to kind of figure out the priority to who plays what, and Empty Dreams is a really, really strong playmaker hero, and those are so key in performances. But yeah, Ray, he played the Haze in the first map in the Challengers match, and then he played a great Vindicta here as well. This is awesome. I mean, Ray did such a good job in this game. You would never have known had we not said that he's a sub, that he was a sub.
You had so many good reactions this game. I think Freemock really rode the line on how far you can push aggressiveness as a Shiv without getting punished. You had Obakim, who, again, just, had the hate Rocky montage training all set up for Together. He was his kryptonite all game long. And then, as you mentioned, yeah, Rayake really solid on the Vindicta, especially for someone, this guy's a sub. Well, I got news for you, Dan. If Leviathan wins, change that subtitle to starter, because this is a performance you don't forget.
Yeah, and it's really interesting when you break this one down, how did the teams interpret, where this went wrong? Of course, one thing that always has to be, in question, first line of question is, was our draft good enough? Was our draft the problem? And I think what was interesting there in terms of the reflection of gameplay, ZP, is that the draft that Leviathan, or rather Abrahams went with, did enable Leviathan to get a very strong lineup in terms of their draft. And that's not to say that Abraham's draft was weak. And they had a very, very strong draft for the objective game, but they didn't get enough value out of the objective game. And so because of that win condition being lacking, I suppose, it did not pan out for Abrahams. And so I would imagine that they would be considering a different approach in the next drafts.
You would think. It's kind of interesting, too, because they banned Rake's hero that we saw in the last game in Haze, and Rake comes out on Vindicta. It's absolutely fine. I actually think, though, when I think about the draft, if you had to run this again draft-wise, I still did like the Abrahams draft more. I think Abrahams had very equivalent power in many stages of the game and massive objective advantage. I just think Leviathan played really, really well and pushed until it hurt in areas that were very tricky to play against. And I think a lot of that came from Freemock on the Shiv. If I'm Abrahams, I'm thinking about things to take away, I probably get Freemock on any other hero whatsoever. But Dan, this was a little bit historic. Abrahams finally dropping a map. Your final thoughts before we go to a break?
Yeah, I mean, Abrahams, they're going to have some pressure on them, and this is when they're going to play the best. So I expect them to level up, and I can't wait to see it.
All right. Is it going to be the time that we have a new EU champion? Well, we're taking a break. The only way to find out is to join us when we come back. All right, we had a great match and we got some stats. Again, the normie stats, as it were, Dan. The API is being a little bit finicky today, but man, oh man, you talk about players who made their presence known in the last match. We saw Freemock continually riding the line, and we got the real stats. Even better, Dan.
The real statistic is. So what are we going to do about this OCs, guys? This is a problem. It's a lot of damage output across the objective and player damage, and OCs is a ticking time bomb. Played, I think, a much better game than in the Challenger match here for Leviathan. And so I think this has got to be, obviously a consideration for Abrahams. That's one thing that stands out to me, ZP. But otherwise, 3-mock on Shiv was a real problem. Look at the damage output there as well. Huge threat.
Yeah, I mean, Freemock, I think it's hard to understate how much of a good Shiv this was from Freemock, where it's so easy for Shiv to feed if you overlook a situation or overestimate how good you are, but Fremont was continually pressuring, but rarely getting caught. He only died 3 times that game, Dan. I think a lot of those deaths came from like full team fights, not tiny skirmishes. Also, in terms of backup, I mean, Flammable, it's not going to be reflected too much on the stats, but the page support was unreal as well as the setup. Obakim with really good swaps, and you know, I look at Abrahams and things that could have went better. Probably a tougher game than normal for Together. I don't want to like beat this drum too much because, you know, chat was already kind of really narrowing in on the areas where, okay, Together overextended and got punished for it, but it also reflects in the fact that Together had a lot of downtime that game. I mean, 11 deaths when usually as Yamato, you're expected to carry a heavier burden. It was a tough game for Together, and I think half of that easily was Leviathan's game plan to make his life miserable.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly accurate point, considering that Together was miserable throughout that game. I think there was clear signs of or plays that were somewhat desperate, or just it looked like there was frustration for Together, and he couldn't really get the activity he wanted to get off of that Yamato, the impact, and was getting shut down quite a lot. So I totally agree with that sentiment, and I think that's something that I think going into this next draft we could see a shift in terms of, again, how he's positioned on the hero pool, as well as I think, again, how the bans are going to go. I don't know that we're going to see that same approach of like the Doorman Kelvin.
Yeah, overall, I don't know if they'll go. I mean, I still think they'll go Doorman. I do wonder about the Kelvin. I think the number one adaptation that's going to be here, they're not getting Shiv. You think back to the first game of the day and how Leviathan handled their pick ban strategy, where they opened with the Billy ban, and their opposition in low key W opened up with the Shiv ban. Abrahams is taking away the Shiv. I feel very confident that the Shiv is going away this time. That is going to be step number one, is saying, if we lose again, we're not losing the free mock, having game of his life on Shiv. He will play something else.
Totally. And, we get the opening Billy ban. So that's a repeat from Leviathan. Now, Abrahams, what are they going to get rid of here? I'm very curious. They're the team that lost. They could decide to do something tricky.
I'm not hanging out with those losers.
Samina again. Right? Was it again? No, or did they?
Yeah, no, it is again. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think the Shiv prio could still be a thing here, but it's going to be them opening with Doorman Shiv. Shiv will be one of the next 2 picks for Abrahams, unless Leviathan first picks it, which would be wild.
Abrams keeps coming.
But they value Abrams. They value Abrams for his playmaking ability. They value for the laning phase. So, okay, if you're not going to ban Shiv, then they have to pick it here. I can't imagine that they're going to just full repeat the last draft after what just happened.
Doorman Shiv then, that's your prediction?
Yeah, I think Doorman Shiv, that's the most likely to be. And there's the Shiv.
There's Dr. Shiv. Okay, we'll see if the Doorman is to follow. But that's going to leave Leviathan in an interesting spot where they, there's a lot that they can try to pick up. I don't think we're going to see a pocket from Leviathan. I think without Empty Dreams, I don't know that it's in Ray's wheelhouse. I don't think that kind of makes sense. So that could be something that... Actually, Abrahams don't pick pocket either, actually, do they, really?
They do. Like, they do play pocket. I think Leviathan, though, okay, do they play pocket without Empty Dreams being here? They do have the ability to swap around who's on it. I think Abrahams make a calculated gamble here that they don't think Leviathan will play Doorman. Because Leviathan at times has not prioritized Doorman. So if this calculus is accurate, they can get Doorman at the tail end while still denying Page from Leviathan. Now, I do think for Leviathan, this is kind of tricky. Do you grab Doorman or do you grab Viscous? Do you actually want to give up both Viscous and Page? That's going to be really difficult the way things are right now. And okay, they grab the Viscous.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I think, we saw the comfort from Fremog on the Viscous, and Fremog was playing the Shiv previously. So this kind of gives Fremog something of high comfort that he gets to play. And it's I think it's an interesting dynamic too, in terms of what it affords them support-wise. But like you said with the Doorman, if it doesn't get picked here, it's getting banned probably. So Yamato going there as well. So that's interesting. We'll see who plays that for Abrahams, because Shiv, Yamato, both in Together's pool. I imagine Together's on Shiv. He's probably going to want the comfort. So we'll see if Doorman now survives the ban phase.
Well, to me, it means either Hoot is going to be on Yamato or maybe more likely Dimov. I mean, Dimov has played a ton of Yamato in the past. If that's going to be the way they go about it, then it means Dimov isn't going to be angling towards Lash. The fact that they took down Vindicta instead of Hayes kind of tells me that they're not looking to play Lash. Leviathan, though, for a Rayek hero, they still may be wanting to pick the Haze, because that's a change up here. Is that last map they took away the Haze, this map they're going to instead take away the
When you
Vindicta.
need me, I'll be ready.
There we go. The Doorman ban comes in as we expect, and it is kind of sad for Ray. You know, like he's the sub. He's coming in as a sub. He's like, I'm not sure what to play. You know, I'll just try to help you guys out, and he's getting like targeted, like target banned both times, both the Haze previously and now the Vindicta. So we'll see if Haze ends up being something that Leviathan choose.
I am the bright light's dark.
Oh, Abraham's fully deny Ray. Okay, what else has he got in the pool, man? Let's see it. Let's see it. Ray's been good on everything so far. We'll see.
I guess we'll see, but this is definitely the all right new guy, at least new guy that playing this high level at this like level of play. We're gonna go after your entire hero pool, and we're not even gonna be shameless about it. Like, this is how we're gonna go about it. Instead, Kelvin comes in for Leviathan, so they decide they still want to be able to play something supporty. If it's not the Page, it's gonna be the Kelvin, because, and people might be tuning in going like, what do you mean? Isn't Viscous kind of supporting? No, Viscous is orange. He does gun damage now.
So what do you put with the Kelvin though? Like what goes with the Kelvin here? Because I feel like the Kelvin.
Let's have fun,
is,
darling.
okay, Kelvin Geist makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you can run Kelvin Geist. I mean, there's worlds where you can run Kelvin Abrams too. I mean, you can run a lot of things with Abrams, to be fair. But
I feel like.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, CP.
No, I'm just wondering what the Rayek hero is going to be here. Just now they've targeted his hero pool pretty specifically. But Warden comes on in, and it's looking a little bit chunky on the Abraham side, Dan.
This is interesting because I actually think there's a world where you could play as Sinclair, someone can play it for Leviathan. Potentially that could make sense for the Warden, or potentially not the most amazing alt steal game yet, but adding some CC and stuff like that could work. They actually pick up the pocket. I can see how that could be dangerous. I'm just really curious now, like what exactly do Leviathan want? So Sinclair definitely is an option. They don't have to get, I think, anything. They're not like missing anything. They got a bit of everything in terms of the different categories.
Yeah, I mean, I think they would have liked to have gotten the pocket themselves, but
so
okay, instead they go double playmaker. They grab the
Ray
Holiday.
can play Holiday, I think.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I don't. It's kind of those things where instinctively it's like I've definitely seen Rayek on Holiday in the past. I think we even had Rayek Holiday as a signature hero in our database, so that's probably where the more recent idea of it is coming from. So yeah, okay, you're going deeper into the hero pool, but Holiday is also quite good at the moment for early tempo. That being said, I look at this comp and this is a bigger focus on Leviathan winning early than last game did. Last game was pretty even, Dan. This game, Leviathan has to just come roaring out at the beginning, or I just think they lose late game to Abrahams.
Yeah, that makes sense. And to be honest, again, they do have a lot of tools to do that with. I think Viscous is great for that. Holiday, obviously, Holiday is probably the most important piece to enable that type of pacing. Abrams, obviously in Paradox, can also follow that up as well as the Kelvin. The Kelvin you can play like a really high pace or high tempo Kelvin too. So you kind of have everything that you need there. Lady Geist maybe is anyone that you wouldn't say is as much tempo, but you want OCs having space to farm off of it anyway. So I think this definitely still works. But I am a bit. I think the Abrahams lineup's a little scary. Those EP, like Shiv, Page, Yamato, like Pocket. What this is a very. We can run you over pretty hard. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an upside, is I do think Abrahams has a little bit of overlap in the sense that they have a lot of heroes that want farm, and not all of them are going to get it. Pocket, in actuality, ends up being pretty greedy the way it gets played in comp games, so he ends up being one of your top soul earners. But then Warden absolutely needs the most farm on your team to be effective. But you don't love a broke Shiv or a broke Yamato at the same time, so Abrahams has a lot of mouths to feed here. And I do think even though late game, they're likely to be the team with a big advantage, that only applies if, the economy distribution is good here. If you end up with a really broke Shiv or a really broke Warden because your Yamato and Pocket are stealing all the farm, well, then it gets a little bit more in question. So that's the part about the Abrahams comp that to me is a little bit sketchier as I kind of break down how this game is going to likely pan out.
Yeah, it's really interesting as well because I'm trying to think also, who's going to have the advantage on the objectives now? Because Leviathan played really well around having some disadvantage on the objective fights. And in terms of the ults, Abrahams have some great team fight ults, but Leviathan also have some good team fight ultimates as well. I wouldn't say it's a super strong advantage one way or the other. I mean, Pocket's really always the standout with the Affliction, but other than that.
I think here it's definitely more advanced for Leviathan on earn play. It's a shift from what we had last game, in part because you have Kelvin Viscus on the other team now and no Doorman, is that Viscus is the best long-range contest onto the earn, period, in the entire game. And Kelvin, all you need is Kelvin around and control the earn, and you can just dive on, drop dome, and it's unlikely that you're going to be interrupted. So Leviathan definitely has way more to work with on objective control, particularly when it comes to the earn. I think the advantage is a little bit less for mid-boss relative to, say, something like a Doorman. But it's also a question how Abraham's going to play around this, because Abraham's has been playing with these characters that trivialize earn fights for a really long time. They almost always have a Doorman or a Viscus in recent memory. So Abraham's, they're going to have to acknowledge the fact that they have to adjust their play style from maybe what's been their comfort zone with the draft they've gone this game.
Yeah, I can totally see that being a pretty big factor. In terms of like just a general kind of edge, I suppose, between these two teams, like who do you feel like has the biggest overall edge across all categories, like if you averaged it out?
Well, I mean, overall, you still got to be with Abraham's here, where even if you are the kings of Europe, look, anything can happen in one game. I think Abraham's, if any team would bounce back, it would be them. Obviously, it's probably a unique comm experience when you've had such unparalleled success recently. You have to go, ooh, this is pain. I've forgotten the sensation of pain. But there's a lot of ways that Abraham's does run away at the game, especially if they have a good early laning phase. I think the team fight angle is going to be just generally horrific for part of the game, especially before you get Divine Barrier online.
I like the analysis here in chat. Abrams going to win this one. They were sleeping. Heads got a little too big. They are going to take it serious now. What do you think about this analysis, CP?
You know, they may take it serious, just as we are taking our prize pool donation seriously. With exclamation point donate, you can add to the prize pool, which would be money in Leviathan's pocket should they win. Also, our NA team. It's split between NA and EU evenly, but keep an eye on that. Wrote out some of the donations earlier. We also have our sub goal for the Night Shift Abrams skin that's still out there. We hit 1,200 subs. We will be releasing that to the public. Very old-timey, of course. You see it in game as we've been playing here today, and you know, Abrams just a different style depending on the day.
He's got the waistcoat. He's got the tie clip. He's got the tie clip, man. I don't think I've ever owned a tie clip. I've had a custom waistcoat made in London in the arcades. Get to pick my material, get it tailored, all very nice. Actually,
did you have to pay for it, or was someone else paying the bill?
No, I paid for it. Actually, for some reason, it is. I don't know why it's like right next to me, but it's this one. There we go. It's got a nice little.
For some reason,
like linen. So this is linen. It's very nice, and it's all crumpled up. So I've exposed myself as not looking after my nice little waistcoat.
Getting into it here, Leviathan looking to unseat the champions of Europe. They won map 1. Are they gonna be able to do it in map 2? And you know, Dan, while we're on the topic of suits and getting stuff tailored, I've heard nothing but good things about the tailors in Korea. Apparently, the price to value ratio is unbelievable. If you know the right people.
Yeah. That region of the world, actually, that area of the world, I think has a lot of that going on. I believe Singapore has the highest of value per dollar spent or something for tailoring. Like, yeah, that area of the world is really good for that. Totally with you on that.
We're into it here, Dan, and we get a look at our lanes and Paradox Holiday. It's an old classic for pressure in the middle. Yamato with Page and a little bit less pressure, but more durability. Lets D-Mov go wild looking for power slashes, but to no one's surprise here, Dan, you do have a change up in who's playing what. It won't be together in the Yamato anymore because you got Shiv.
On the Warden, this could be a huge threat because Warden comes online very quickly, and the pacing that you can, or the tempo that you can have behind a Warden that's farmed well is actually very devastating. I think it's one of the most disruptive forces that you can find in the game if it's farmed up.
I think it's a lot of comfort heroes too. I mean, Tass on Haze, it's an old setup, but it checks out. Tass used to have a pretty good Haze if you go far enough back into the annals of Deadlock history. Hoot on Pocket, of course. Very simple.
Yeah.
On the other side, though, we got Binding Word and a very wounded Viscus as Sanya strikes first off on the left-hand side.
I was just going to make a dad joke, CP. Like, you know who else checks out? Cash in. It's
Well,
not my best work.
Also, I do like the itemization here that I feel like, you know, people underrate. The early velocity rounds coming out here from Sing the Sniper. Yeah, just consistency. I feel like if you're getting into the groove on landing your bullets, might as well do it early in the game. As Rake falling in mid as we're just looking at the footwork of Warden.
Yeah, yes, it's always very interesting how fast Warden can run. So you got to pay attention to that footwork, fancy footwork. Speaking of which, also obviously Demov on this Yamato is going to be a really refreshing difference I would expect in this map from the Yamato performance in the previous one, where Together was struggling on it. I don't think we're going to see Demov struggle on the Yamato. He's likely going to have quite the game here, and it's definitely a pretty good lane. He's got a page with him that's insane, and it's a hard lane to be up against. Paradox and Holiday obviously is definitely threatening, but good support here to hopefully have Demov have a good start. I think CP.
Overseas, looking for an opportunity. He was on a box run, now charging over and in. It doesn't look like the charge connected. Instead, nearly goes to jail for the attempt. This left-hand side lane for Leviathan. A little bit wounded. In fact, you look at the health bars, Leviathan isn't really looking healthy in any lane right now here, Dan. The healthiest being Rayek in middle, and middle has still been a bit of an uncomfortable journey.
Yep. It is very uncomfortable. Look at the back of the Volkswagen. Now, the dives coming on here from Hoot are very scary already, getting very active. This is good pocket play, of course. You can be very high pressure in lane on pocket. Exactly what we're seeing from Hoots, and they are doing some serious damage to the left side tower. It's already down to almost half, and now I think it is at half. So, in fact, they might be actually taking the entire Guardian. This is just so much free damage. A 4-minute Guardian in the current patch is actually very impressive. And the Affliction coming on through, and they're just chasing down. You thought that you were safe. You had a Guardian to... No, nothing. It's gone.
The frogs were a little bit ambitious, and you're going to get juggled there, but losing Guardian is ridiculous. We'll see if they're punished a little bit in kills, but kills do not make up for losing Guardian if you get it. Still, last stand out. Sanya making some space here as the skirmish continues. Look at the fight. Abrams, shoulder to shoulder. Quote from pocket, finishes it off.
This is not a good sign. The amount of value we're seeing from the pocket and also from the Warden. Those are two heroes that if they get ahead early, your game is over.
Your death is inevitable.
Almost everything that could go wrong for Leviathan in this early game has gone wrong. A 4K overall difference does not accurately state the level of butt kicking that has gone on here, Dad. This is a very tough start to the game.
It's such a big problem too because just Hoot. I mean, again, the Warden too. There's just like a lot to be said about this, but Hoot in particular is going to be able to have like power spikes much more quickly, and he's going to be able to gank lanes really heavily. And it basically, I think, becomes a huge snowball impact. And I think it's like the worst hero to be up against, who gets really farmed at this time in the game.
I take Holiday.
Now, interestingly enough, if Leviathan can stem the bleeding a little bit and get earn control and not have Rayek die, which, you know, were many ifs to be had here, Dan. They still have reasonable objective-based gameplay, but God, it's going to be tough if they're down another Guardian.
Yeah.
You just see the rotation from Hoot in the middle, and yeah, it's 2 Guardians down, sub 6 minutes.
With the Spirit Spike that he gets off of the items, you know, the Spirit Burst damage is so hardcore that you have to kind of respect it. So you play a bit further back on the Guardian, then he Spirit Bursts the Guardian, and then they just burst it down. It's just so difficult to deal with.
Together again, reacquainted with his favorite button in all of Deadlock, Kill and Blow. 8K lead, Dan, at 6.5 minutes.
Yeah.
This is not a beating. This is a destruction.
So, you know, it's interesting. I made a video on a channel that I then had no longer any time to make videos on, which was about like reviewing Deadlock VODs. And one of the focuses was a pocket Warden lane, where Ido, I think, was playing the pocket, and just showing how devastating it can be, and how the dynamics work, and why it's good. And who will finally get chased down? And I think, you know, Ray is definitely the counterbalance to that, with that lasso, and they're going to look to try to capitalize more. A lasso onto Together, and a big slap, and he's down.
You're just a shit.
That lasso,
good.
from the observer point of view, did not look like that was going to hit. That was all day doing some keen little rope tricks there. I'm sure it's just a little bit of, a little bit of trickery. But either way, Poot probably overstaying his welcome there, feeling himself a little bit too much. And this is important for Leviathan to get a little bit of sanity back into this game, not get completely walked over. Still about 2.5 minutes till first urn is coming on out, and if they can just defend the last Guardian here and punish Abrahams for testing the waters, they can find a way back into this game.
Certainly. Okay, 5k difference now, so closing a little bit. We get to the 8-minute mark where the Sinner sacrifices will come online, and that is again another area of the game where Toot will become particularly dangerous. Almost 10k souls for Sanya's sniper. Sanya's actually getting huge. That's also another massive problem. The amount of threat that he's going to command on these lanes, ZP, is going to be enormous.
You don't want to warden this early, because Vegas with the raid. Thank you so much. Vegas ending the stream early, but very much appreciated for the support and the frequent watch parties. Always been a friend of the stream. He's saving his power, Dan. I talked to Vegas. He says, "Just you wait. New patch comes out. 12-hour streams."
What's his community called? How can we refer to them?
I don't know if they have a nickname there. Not every streamer does a nickname, but okay. Take a look at this. Hayes, just investigating the Gamba, just getting the records on file for the Abrams prosecution down the line. She's part of the feds, Dan.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, someone's gotta be the authority here. Someone's gotta do it. By the way, if you don't think that they have a name, ZP, I feel like it's an opportunity in disguise. You can name them.
No, that's too much power.
No, just a direct veto.
This could end so bad that. Or you could just let the Vegas chatters name it in chat, and that could also end really bad. Because Vegas just screams no. But we are 30 seconds away from first urn. Leviathan, they've stemmed the bleeding a bit here, Dan. While still unable to get a Guardian, overall, Abrahams had their aggression checked a little bit. They haven't gotten the last Guardian, and things have quieted down a little bit, which is kind of what Leviathan wants when ideally they want to play these fights a little bit more around urn.
All right, well, 10-minute mark is coming up here in a few seconds, and we'll get that urn coming up indeed. So fight is beginning here on the rooftops. Lasso is going to get missed there. That's unfortunate for Ray, falling off of this position. And it's not looking particularly strong there for them. Abrahams, on the other hand, have full control, full command of the position on that urn. In the meantime, there is a defense on the right side of the map from Leviathan. 2 against 2, trying to keep that Guardian up. Those two Guardians actually taking very little damage. Given that we're over 10 minutes now, that lane's been very even. So
the rotation coming in here from Abrahams. Leviathan, they have really good urn contest here, Dan, and it may be put to the test. You see here on the right-hand side, Page, again, absolutely chased after. The swap just in the nick of time from OCs. Perfectly timed here in the frozen shelter. Not the favorite here for Together when the Kelvin's not on his team. The dive successful, 2 down. And the urn, you're holding the urn as Taz going, okay, maybe another time. And wait, Rake in pursuit here.
Well, Kim is gone, and the Guardian's under pressure. Who laying it down there? Ray trying to make the escape as the Shadow Transformation comes on in. And looks like Ray will be able to survive, but oh my goodness, Sanya's Sniper and Hoops, this Warden and Pocket combination has been absolutely devastating. They are like a couple of bullies, just running around the map, doing whatever the hell they want. And that's a very early Walker, ZP. That's not what you want to see.
And it's Walker that may not even be paid for by an urn trade. You may get the urn too. Together's back into the fight. Takes down OCs. Abrahams, more momentum on their side. Together, love to get another. However, the focus fire turning onto the Shiv. Not enough HP. Ends up going down the right-hand lane. Now into a bloodbath situation as Demov falls. And what's more, you got the urn running away. Saint may have enough clearance to get behind the Walker. But while Leviathan's been stuck in this eternal urn fight, as mentioned, Dan, they paid the price on the left-hand side. They lost a Walker pretty early into the game.
What's kind of interesting, though, ZP, is that the soul distribution is something to look at, because Ooh, what a catch on the Taz with the lasso. Beautiful, beautiful work there from the cowboy. Or cowgirl, I should say. But yeah, the distribution is solid. But hold on. The affliction from up top is going to be dropping straight on top of Overseas and the rest of the team. And they're looking to clean up.
Could have been even bigger, but in the end, it's going to force Overseas out. D-Mob, the final execution towards the end. And now, see Sanya, last stand, chasing down Fremont. Also know where to go. Earn going to be picked up. And, take a look here. Walker trade? Wouldn't be the worst if OCs is able to finish it off, but you got the haze over and in, and you got no swap to deal with it. Still, that mid-walker, prime real estate later on, but look at all that's been given up for that split push onto the walker. Wait, Abrams? Charge? Surely you can't prevent this turn. And no. The turn-in is good. Abraham's getting real serious macro advantages now, Dan.
Yeah, there was a moment where things were looking a little bit better for Leviathan, but right now they are getting absolutely wrecked on these objectives. The deep dive coming on through, maybe all the way to the walker, but eventually that's going to have to be cut off as we'll get Abrahams falling back off to the rest of the map. They do have significant control. And I was going to say, ZP, like this, the kind of saving grace in a way would have been that, yeah, Warden's really far ahead, but the rest of the team for Abrahams, like Limov, Saint, Taz, together, they're not very farmed. They're pretty much even, or maybe a little bit further behind than some of the Leviathan players. So it's actually kind of like not as bad as it might look, so long as you're avoiding the water. So that kind of gives a window for Leviathan to still be able to win team fights and find picks. But they are now 11k souls behind at the 14-minute mark, so it is certainly still a grim look.
This is tough. I mean, you look at where Sanya is at right now. Any fight Sanya goes to is almost a order to retreat on sight from Leviathan. Whatever it was back in Naruto, where it's just like, hey, you see the fourth Hokage? Yeah, leave. Just leave. That's Sanya right now. You just don't want to fight him if you can avoid it. But instead, we do have this fight going off on the left-hand side. Hoot chasing down OCs, and see where OCs goes. OCs does have swap here, so it's not as surefire as you may think. Sleep Dagger in on the Obikim. Frozen Shelter coming on out as Leviathan. Try and turn this one. I don't know if anyone was actually caught in that shelter, though. It may have just been more defensive. OCs, though, trying to turn the tables back the other way. Swap was used. Hoot really, really low. The last little bit of Arctic Beam, not enough to finish him. They grab Task, but Hoot may be able to get out as Dimov comes in for a little bit of cleanup of his own to turn it back in Abraham's favor.
Certainly, and the fight continues all the way through to the tier 3 camps, and it's actually not a terrible look here at all for Leviathan. They did lose a couple players ultimately. They're looking to still scrap around here. Abrams will be able to TP away Overseas, staying safe for now. And Ray, ever able to be able to escape with those jump pads, despite being quite low after that fight. And a couple of these walkers for Abrahams are actually getting kind of low. That mid walker is really, really low. So good progress on some of these objectives from Leviathan despite the difficulties. And here comes the chase down. Dimov is looking to take out Fremont, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Fremont dead for 23 seconds. We'll have your best contesters of mid-boss. This is where you wonder, do you go for it? Or in this case, again, mid-walker, perhaps a little bit more pressure, clearing things out. Earn control, though, is going to go the way of Leviathan, and this is where you really consider mid-boss trade, because you don't love contesting not neutral Earn in this instance, but if they go for the full turn, and you do have a window to just take down mid, and based on the minimap, it does look like Abraham is saying, you can have Earn, we'll grab our mid-boss.
It's insane how far ahead Sanya Sniper is right now. It is surprising that Warden isn't picked up more. He is extremely oppressive to play against. And here comes the contested. They're going to go for that one. Are they going to be able to deny any of these rejuve pickoffs? It's 2 players down, though, for the Leviathan side. They lose every crystal. And now Unleashed is Sanya Sniper looking to cage people.
You know, his abilities are just a bonus. His real ability is gun. What do you do well, Warden? Gun. I just shoot. Like, turned off the body cam, and he's, you know, he's just doing things on the streets of New York at the moment. But Overseas, trying to back out, maybe getting the walkers saving grace here, but the anvil comes on down, courtesy and knockdown. And yeah, Leviathan, you know, the lead could not as big as you might expect, but I think that's about to change drastically here, Dan, in just a moment.
What's actually interesting is that Overseas actually managed to catch up to Tiny Sniper like really reasonably, only 5k behind now. So as bad as this looks, there is always a world that they can find to bring this back. I mean, the problem is that if they lose too much in the way of objectives, they will lose too much map control, and that has profound impacts on the playmaking capacity to kind of get back into the game. So I think that's one of the things that worries me the most for the comeback, or how comebackable this game might be for Leviathan.
The upside for Leviathan, I mean, you are running with both Holiday and Paradox. You have opportunities for picks. Those opportunities don't feel as good when the other team still has 2 rejuve charges. That much is for sure. I'm not closing the door on this just yet, but the thing about the fights, like a winnable fight for them is one where A, Hoot doesn't land a multi-man affliction. B, Sanya just doesn't get value. Like, Sanya just needs to die to something comical early in a fight. If you can achieve those 2 things, winning the fight is actually reasonable for Leviathan, but doing such things, maybe another story. Like, it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Agreed. All right, well, this is perhaps the biggest nightmare. I mean, this is like no. It's just. I mean, what do you do? This is literally that's the Grim Reaper. It's not Warden any longer. It's the Grim Reaper. If you see him on your screen, you're already dead.
Yeah, he's now in the. You're on the screen. I'm going to lightly track you, and you are going to go back to spawn. This is endgame Warden carry, and when you have this much difference between yourself and the soul count of the rest of the team, you just get to bend the rules of reality, where, you know, a lot of people look at Deadlock and go, okay, Spirit is generally, you know, the way to play is generally really powerful for most heroes, but the upside of Gun is if you get ahead of the game, sometimes you just hit your break point of no one can actually be on the same screen with you.
Yeah, and you know, there's still a couple of regies left to play with too, so the entire Abraham's team can play with a lot of aggression, as their risk is somewhat diminished to having the extra lives. And look at the map control. There's absolutely 0 for Leviathan. They've been put under house arrest.
Again, their win condition here is so remarkably small. Everything has been set for a map 3 here so far.
Yeah. And it kind of, again, brings me back to that point about drafts. And you know, I mean, for this one, the draft, I do like the draft more for Abrahams. But also, the part of the problem is I feel like one of the edges that Abrahams has is that they do have someone that can play pocket really well here, whereas typically Leviathan would have at least empty dreams that could, you know, really compete for that spot. And I don't think, I think that's like an edge that Abrahams have.
I tend to agree. I mean, I think getting Pocket 6th pick, like last pick overall, was that was a little bit too much value, especially when it's such a comfort pick for Hoot.
Yeah.
I don't love giving that up. You also gave together the Shiv.
Yeah.
D-Mob is, I mean, D-Mob is good on a lot of things, but especially good on Yamato.
Yeah.
I don't think Leviathan wanted to play Kill. I think it caught them off guard, but okay,
Yeah.
SBK caught off guard. Hoot, overestimating his own survivability, ends up dying without even dropping the frogs, and maybe this is a window here for Leviathan. See if they can get a little bit more off this opportunity, but guess what? They're on a timer. Here comes Warden. Sanya drops the last stand. Needs to get line of sight on things. Right now, he's blaring the siren and no one is around. He's just using it to get home early off his commute here, Dan. There is no official business done with that last stand.
No official business whatsoever. Now, speaking of business, we have the action. Leviathan looking to try to make this fight work out and just get, oh my God, getting pipped at the post here. Together in Taz, able to take down 2 players pretty quickly there. Leviathan, and the HP is dwindling so quickly. Look how much HP this Warden has. He's just so healthy. Nothing can touch him. Everything bounces off of him, and the damage output is horrendously high. And so this is absolutely rooting and just running over Leviathan right now. Leviathan just cannot stand toe-to-toe at all against Abrahams.
They're running out of time. Because you look at how these fights are breaking down. The lead is continuing to grow. Okay. Flammable, this is... He's still hiding. All right, but can he get back to base successfully? This is Kelvin's Metal Gear Solid arc. I think he's done it, Dan.
Nice. There we go. Well, yeah, this really sucks. They are the Walking Dead right now. They are the Walking Dead. ZP.
Also, I think the timer on this game, realistically, 30 seconds, mid-boss is up. Based on how Abraham's usually plays, they probably send it. I don't think they need to wait for a pickoff here, Dan. I think mid-boss comes up, you go for it, and you dare Leviathan the challenge, or you go for the fake and then kill them afterwards. Either way, Abraham's gets to set all the terms and conditions in the next fight.
What is the math on having like 38, 39k souls at 23 minutes? How many souls per minute is that?
It's pretty close to 2,000 souls a minute. Clearly it's under, because we're not that bad math, but it's got to be like 1,700, 1,800 souls per minute. That sounds about right to me.
Added to yellow.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I will calculate. 1,700 times how many minutes? 24 minutes, let's say. Or 23 minutes.
I'll make them.
I do like the
39.
unstoppable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
by
you're
the
right.
way,
You're about spot on, DP. You're actually, I think, literally spot on. so about 1,700 a minute. I used a
But-
calculator and everything.
no calculator here, just guessing, you know?
Oh, I love this part.
Okay. Earn gonna be locked in on.
Has arrived.
Again, I think if you look at this from Abraham's, you go, take the Earn. We'll take mid. But they may be interested in just trying to catch this and end it here and now, as you see them chasing down the back end of Leviathan. Right now, it's Kelvin in the crossfire. So Kelvin ends up getting caught towards the very end. Fremont also in danger. Can't quite roll out of that one. Shout transformation used as... Okay, nope, D-Mob says, I'm not going to go super deep. We're just going to go back to mid. And now try and contest us down low.
Yeah, mid boss and end should be very doable now. Especially, you know, you got Vampiric online for Sanya Sniper. He has everything he needs to just be constantly alive and just absolutely ripping through everybody. So, no challenge for this at all. I mean, it doesn't even matter if they get the Urn right now. Like, that doesn't help Abraham's at this point. Or rather, sorry, Leviathan at this point. But it does set up potentially some nice fights, because look at this. Abrahams were ready to punish this.
Let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, now, okay, you're down 2. And you're up against 3 Rejuvenators. And you're up against a Warden who was just done from his audition of RoboCop. He's been augmented, man. He has all sorts of, like, extra buttons to kill you with. And by extra buttons, I mean he just hits you with gun even harder.
True.
Not a great spot to be in, on the whole.
GPP. All right. Okay, let's get our skates on, shall we? Like, send it to the base. And being held by Abrahams, that's gonna force some action. I mean, it's in comeback territory. If you're Leviathan, you don't have to go for it, but you probably should try and race and get a catch on together. The other's actually going to get killed, but obviously there is a Rejuve Crystal. His teammate's going to come here to help him out, I wonder. Where is his team?
Hoot's certainly thinking about it. They see Hoot in the skybox. Frogs at the ready. Briefcase, cloak. Looking for perhaps a little bit more. Not quite clumped up enough to go for the affliction here just yet, but it's enough chaos to clear out together. Swap, though, coming in towards the end, looking for Sanya. The raid boss has been engaged, but his HP actually starting to move down. Getting Rejuve charge out here on the Sanya would be great. Warden, if you have enough focus fire, you can take him down. So one Rejuve charge is down. Instead, now going back into the fountain is Leviathan, trying to hit away at the advantage of Abraham's, using the base pretty well here, Dan. And could they possibly get another? Swap not up here just yet. Hoot in over the top, drops down. Frog's 4-man affliction. The plague has spread, and Leviathan needs to get back to base in a hurry.
Oh, that was the worst possible thing that could have happened. It was actually great progress previous to that affliction. And now that's going to give all the momentum for Abrahams to get into the base and really finish off the business as they look to take care of the objectives now. Pick up onto Fremont. Be very helpful. Dude is dead though, you know, he did die after that, so there is a chance here for a potential hold. 4 players still up here for the base defense, and the fact that they've done so well, I really feel there's like a huge overperformance from Leviathan as they keep chasing this one down.
There's no Rejuve, he already died. Can you kill him? 500 HP, 200 down. Gives the life for it is the holiday, but look, if you're looking for any opportunity back into this game, you take what you can get there, Dan.
That's kind of insane that they managed to get rid of all 3 rejuves, and they managed to get 2 kills on top of that. That is actually an insane performance from Leviathan. There has to be an insane overperformance. I feel like getting any amount of rejuves there was really impressive. And I don't know, there's a comeback soldier, dynamic in this game that allows Leviathan to catch up a bit more quickly. But there is so much catch up to do here, ZP.
It's a long way to go. On one hand, it's notable that you're able to take down the Warden, and it feels good that, okay, he's killable. But what have you gained in turn? You got a few kills that didn't even give you the overall edge and map control. And even if it did, mid-boss is still down. And in 10 seconds, you're going to have to deal with Mr. Raid Boss one more time. So it's not quite the full turnabout Leviathan is looking for, but it does prove that there are some scenarios where if Abrahams messes up, Leviathan can punish.
Okay, then. Okay. 30k difference, or slightly under 30k. I don't know. I'm really trying to think of the way that Leviathan can come back into this game, ZP, and I'm just still struggling to find it. Obviously, getting picks is going to be one of the tickets, but it's very hard to do given how tanky Abrahams are as a lineup, and also because Saint has can always send the horses in. To try to save people. There's a lot of ability to save the teammates.
One thing that's important to note, they were able to defend shrines in the last attempt. Comeback-wise, if they had to come back down 30k and missing shrines with the advantage that you get in creep pressure now when shrines are dead, probably not going to happen. But in this instance, yeah, they still prevented the absolute worst case scenario of the last push. But once more, if you're Abrahams, your advantage is big. Realistically, you just want to wait until mid-boss. Like, you're okay playing it cool and then force a mid-boss fight that Leviathan has to contest, but isn't well equipped to fight.
Okay, so we're getting to the 30-minute mark, and I got to say, ZP, another thing about this game. This has been a very one-sided game the entire time. Like right from the early game, it was insanely dominating from Abrahams. The fact that they haven't closed the game here, I feel like there's a lot to be said for that. That we're at the 30-minute mark now with a closing differential. I mean, it's still like around the 30k limit, but there's Abraham's giving a lot of respect here and really trying not to give up any single edge or advantage.
Well, the 30k limit also stops mattering as much because once you start getting to around the 35k range, the extra items you get, it's more marginal in value. The benefit you gain from Warden going from 20k to 35k is a lot more significant than what you get from 35k to 51k. As far as impact on your build, your ability to do damage, and thereabouts. So if it stays even, Leviathan is actually drastically increasing their odds and making something happen. So there is some pressure on Abrahams to do something with their lead, but the do something here is probably going to be the make mid-boss screen.
Yeah, definitely. And the catch on the Taz, a huge pick-off. Huge pick-off. That is so impactful with the mid-boss coming up as well. This could set them up here.
I can't believe the lassos that Rayek has been hitting all game long. It almost looks like, okay, is that a good time to go for lasso? Goes through the door frame, still finds it. However, with the pick on the Obakim, Abraham says no Taz, no problem. But they make the mid-boss scream. They're going for a fake here, Dan. They don't want the full commit. I think they're aware that 5v5 it may not end up in their favor. Instead, gonna get the Yamato engage onto the Viscous. Actually, not the worst target as far as Leviathan is concerned. Now the fight taking place up on the top. Charge coming in here from Page, used early. Chase down on to Kelvin. Flammable hunted down in his own dome. And now locked into danger was OCs. That was not where OCs wanted to be. Frozen shelter or no. Still, Abraham's loses another in the chaos. We'll see where this one goes. Killing blow in on the free mark. Together. Making this a little bit better. Leviathan down 4, and we'll see where they go. Finds the Abrams at the end. And that may be all Leviathan needs to end this game.
Yeah, it was a good effort. The fights got a little bit too scrappy there. I think the whole team was separated in a way that was not conducive ultimately to helping Leviathan in this overall team fight. And so there we go. This is going to be the Rejuve Crystals. Chaining those killing blows there what made it all too easy for Together to really just crack open the base for Abrahams to take full advantage. And now finally the shrines can go down. Finally the first stage patron can go down. And okay, Demov, all right, we get it.
Might not just be first stage patron, as it turns out here. Shrine's gonna go down, first stage patron, and well, I say that. You have 3 rejuves. Abraham's playing this real safe. Like, far more safe than I would expect. I think you could make the argument they could just brawl and team fight in pit with 3 rejuves and they win, but they go for earn turn in and they want to make it, you know, a little bit cleaner. Get a pick off on the outside before full committing, and they just get that pick down with Obakim going down.
Certainly do. Abraham's now looking to just constrict and suffocate Leviathan as Leviathan are forced to once again hide in the base. And waves crashing in from all sides. Ults are all online pretty much. Affliction, maybe one of the most important. And that's Hoot looking for a good connection.
Last lasso of the game, perhaps from Rayek, and enough to get a rejuve charge out of Demov, but take a look at the Patron. Patron's not looking very healthy. Everyone into the pit, everyone into the meat grinder. Abraham's not going down without a fight, even up the series 1-1 here in our EU money match.
Yeah, great victory on map 2 from Abraham's to take us to a decider, and I think Leviathan somehow hung on exceptionally well. I think there's a lot to be said for that. But again, you know, there's a lot to be discussed with the draft. That was, from start to finish, an incredibly strong game from Abraham's.
Yeah. I mean, we get to the highlights here, and I think you kind of touched on it, Dan. I think it was a really good point in the course of the game of just, for a game that was so Abraham-sided for most of the game, Leviathan kept it reasonable as a fight. Like, even when everything was going against him economy-wise, it was looking bad. The fact that Leviathan kept this a close match and it wasn't a 19-minute steamroll is impressive in and of itself for just how poorly this game started for them.
Yeah, and it just seemed like they were always like so behind as well. Like the fact that Hoot and Sanya Sniper especially on the Warden, was so far ahead very early. They got a 4-minute Guardian, and then they went into mid, and then they got like a 5 or 5.5 minute Guardian in mid as well. So that they were so far ahead and so dominant across the entire map. That was the story for 30 minutes basically. So it's kind of outrageous that it was so hard for them to win the game, and it wasn't because they misplayed anything. You know, I wouldn't say that it's because Abrahams just didn't do the fundamentals well. That's like, you know, that's absolutely not the case. It has to be because Leviathan played really well from behind.
Yeah, I think part of it too is that even when you're playing from behind, when you have Shiv, Viscous, you do have the ability to make objectives a little bit more annoying than they would be. I mean, Infallible was still able to get some isolation picks on the Kelvin, but also the player of the hour to me, and I never would have expected it from a sub perspective, has been Rayek. I mean, Rayek on the holiday had a really good game this holiday. Rayek was not the reason why Leviathan lost that game. And remember how the draft started? The draft started as a "we hate you, Rayek" in particular, because they went out of their way to ban Vindicta, pick Hayes, which were the 2 heroes that Rayek had played earlier in the day. So Rayek kind of proving, no, you can't actually ban me out of my hero pool, and good on that. I think for me, before we head to break here, Dan, the thing I want to see changed out of Leviathan going forward is maybe not giving Hoot the pocket if you're going to be giving up things like the Shiv to Together. Just too many comfort picks for me that got picked up here by Abrahams.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And if I was to pick any one thing out of this game, I think it would be that the laning phase was really where all the problems started for Leviathan. I don't know how you solve for having a better laning phase against a Warden and a Pocket. It might come down to the draft, but I think that's, of course, the biggest thing to solve here.
Yeah, I think the draft will be adjusted, and I mean, we'll see. Leviathan, this is the best anyone has looked against Abrahams in quite a while. It's 1-1. Who knows what a game 3 may bring? But here, we do have to take a break. When we come back, the finale here in EU for Night Shift. Who's going to win it all? Is it going to be Abrahams once more? Will Leviathan finally take the crown? Words are hard. The money match is reaching its conclusion here on Night Shift. ZP back here with DDK once more. And Dan, I gotta say, we didn't necessarily expect this coming into today, but it's why we always do the preamble about, hey, you never know how much a team could have leveled up in the last week, because we've seen this story before.
Oh, we totally have. But I mean, the wrinkle to that is the fact that Ray is a sub for Empty Dreams. Empty Dreams being one of the key players, the person that plays the pocket, the playmakers, very important role. Subbed out for Ray, who has been incredibly good. I think every single map he's had a very strong performance, which is so exciting to see, and on a different hero each time, which is I think so exciting now as we get into the final draft CP, because it still gives me a lot of hope that Leviathan can find a way to kind of edge the draft in their favor. But as we're going to get into the bans, and we're going to find out where the differences lie.
All right. We'll see what changes up here. One big note of change is that Leviathan changed up who is first and second pick here. At the beginning draft, they wanted first pick. Now, they lost the last map. They had the ability to choose, and they decided, no, we want to go second. And already we have a change up here where Abraham says, there's no way we're giving you Paige. And to me, that kind of indicates they don't want to play against Paige, but they also don't want to first pick it.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to analyze that. And it is an interesting change up. Obviously, the fact that Abraham's getting to go for the ban first. We have Billy that's been banned, I think, every single time from Leviathan, so no change there. And usually the Leviathan are able to get Abrams first. So, there is always the world where there could be a steal. I don't know that Abrahams would do it, but
Abrahams, I think, is going to go Shiv. I think Leviathan will absolutely be able to get the Abrams here. I'll be surprised, but okay, no. They decide they really like the Abrams even then. But think about what you're giving up in turn for this. You're 100% giving up the Shiv. You're potentially giving up the Doorman if Leviathan want to run it. Historically, they haven't wanted to run it. If anything, I think about it here, I would also kind of like to see them get the pocket a little bit earlier. Obviously, they let it go way longer. You get the Shiv. But getting the pocket now, I think, is good, because I don't think you want to deal with Hoot again. Hoot was your number one issue at the beginning of the last game. I don't know if they'll overpick the pocket, but I do think it should be on their radar when you're considering what to prioritize at this stage in the draft.
Certainly. And okay, so that's cool. So that's really cool to see, because Mina, obviously not available, has been getting banned, and OCs most certainly, I would imagine, would end up being the one to play the Mina. That's my expectation, at least. But for Abrahams, on the other end of things, this does open up a page. Oh no, sorry, they can't pick Paige. Paige is gone.
Yeah. Let's open up Doorman if they want to go for it. And they go the Paradox earlier. I don't think Abrahams has really loved Paradox getting stolen away from them later in the draft. Leviathan, if you remember in the first map, I think they grabbed it a little bit earlier, around like 4th overall pick for themselves. So I think Abrahams, that caught them off guard. They don't want to deal with that once more. But do they go with the Doorman earlier? Do they not prioritize it? They go Viscous. I think this comes back to the idea that they know Leviathan doesn't want to play Doorman and is actually more likely to just use a ban on it. So I think this read is pretty reasonable. What I'm curious on for Leviathan, Yamato is a key part of how Abrahams plays. They've played a lot of Yamato in recent times. They prioritize Yamato in both games. Do you either pick Yamato here or ban it? Because you pick Doorman, that tells me, Dan, I think they're banning Yamato.
Okay, we'll see if that ends up being the case. I think there's also an interesting question as well for Leviathan is Hayes, also Vindicta, also Holiday open. Holiday might be a good pick because it's high value for Ray, and you can get it at the end of the draft. So that might be strategically sensible. And there you go. You're correct. You are correct. Yamato does get banned by Leviathan.
Now for Abrahams, what do you hate more? Do you hate Hayes or you hate Vindicta? Either way, Rayek is going to get one of the two of them, unless he's actually going to come in as the Doorman player, which would be wild and even add more to the Rayek lore that's been pretty considerable today on the whole. But
the day of Ray, I feel like.
Yeah, they get rid of Vindicta and they go, Rayek, you can play Hayes. And if Leviathan wants Rayek to play Hayes, they actually have to pick it here, or Abrahams has shown that they're totally willing to pick it.
And I still think that there could be a Holiday that could be on the back end. That's another option. So Bebop. Okay, that's interesting. I was going to say, if you pick Abrams, you're kind of paying the Bebop tax. Overseas obviously is pretty legendary on the Bebop, and Bebop is, I think, a little bit undervalued at the moment, at least in EU. So at least that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, Bebop, I mean, the stat hits he got hit with over time, people have soured a little bit. I mean, you still have Hook. It's still one of the best abilities of the game. It's still really, really good. But, okay, you're picking Lash. This is definitely incentivizing Leviathan to maybe go the Haze a little bit more, if it still makes sense within their hero pools, just because of what we saw Rake was able to do back in the challenging match, where it made Captain's life so ridiculously hard every time he was going for a death slam.
Maurice and I got your back.
Moan Krill comes in. We haven't
that's
seen this in a while in EU.
The other thing too, I got to say, ZP, that's interesting about the Lash is that because they already have Viscous, from a hero pool point of view, you kind of know now that Lash is probably being played by Hoots, or Hoot is playing Viscous, and but because like, okay, what does Demorph do? Because Demorph has a great Viscous too, so it starts to narrow things down a little bit. And there you go, you're totally correct. The Haze comes out as a response. And what's the final pickup going to be though? They've got grid utility and CC and frontline and DPS.
I'd
Warden
like Warden
would be nice.
Because it's twofold. A, Abraham still needs a gun carry, and B, you need a little bit of meat if you're Leviathan. And they go Ivy, so
the OCs of Ivy?
Ivy's good. I think I was talking to people behind the scenes, and a lot of people do think Ivy is a bit underrated at the moment, and teams have just kind of gone weird about it. Like, to the point that people are saying, God, I hope they don't buff Ivy because she's been getting picked a little bit less. Like, that would not be a good response. But you have to think Warden is probably how this finishes. Oh, it's Viper!
All right. Okay. Interesting.
I wouldn't have expected this. I mean, look, Viper is a much bigger menace than people may realize at the moment, because it hasn't played. It's been played in comp, but it's not like insta high pick in comp. But the way Viper could take over a game is terrifying. It is a little bit weird though when you think about the things that Sanya is usually on, that nothing is a true sort of M1, carry the game sort of hero in Sanya's usual style for Abraham's. It's a different look entirely here, Dan.
Yes, it is super interesting. I mean, there's quite a few questions here for me, because I would expect that, let's say on Leviathan side of things, that Ivy would be an OC's hero, but also Mina tends to be an OC's hero as well. So I'm like kind of not sure who's going to play what when it comes to that. And the Viper pick and the Moan Krill pick is really interesting. I feel like that you need to tempo this game right.
Yeah, I mean, even in the early game tempo, I mean, both sides have a lot to look forward to. I mean, I would say Abraham's probably has the better early game by a reasonable margin, but it's not like your early game is weak if you have Mina, Doorman, Haze. It's definitely weaker than what Abraham's bringing. I mean, Abraham's bringing a nuke to the early game, but it's not without options for Leviathan. Also, while we wait for the teams to get into game, an announcement of an announcement that I have here is we know the new patch is on the horizon, and we want to do a little bit extra for the community in that time. We have not set it in stone yet, but we are looking to do a draft night, likely on the Saturday after the patch comes out, and it is going to involve some of the most known streamers and competitive players in the scene. Basically, we're going to take 12 players, we're going to do captains, they're going to draft their own teams. They're going to be in voice with us as they draft. We're going to make it a bit of a spectacle, and we're presetting the matchup. So for example, one of the matchups we're thinking of for our first map, we'll do 4 maps. We're going to do Team Deathy versus Team Metro, and they'll draft the remaining people. And then, maybe do a Vegas versus Lord NM, something along those lines. But we want to hit some of the age-old community rivalries and, make something fun that people want to enjoy when the patch is at its hottest. So again, we'll have further details in the future, but likely doing that the Saturday after the patch, which, maybe if we're lucky, Saturday next week, Dan. You never know.
I'm just trying to not think about it, because, like, obviously I want it to happen and it's exciting, but it's just painful. It's painful to, like, go to Reddit every day and be like, oh, has it happened yet? Oh, what are people saying about it? It's like, oh, why am I putting myself through this torture? It's better to just forget. It's like, not looking at the clock, when, because it just makes the time pass slower. It's the exact same kind of principle. But we're going to go into the match here. This is the decider. Leviathan, I feel like, legitimately have a solid shot at Abrahams, who have looked indomitable for months now at this point here in Night Shift. Will they be able to do it, Leviathan? Bring it over the line. They're going to be against a Viper as well, and a Moan Krill. This is a crazy draft, I feel.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. I'm excited to see where this one goes. I mean, I think this one is a little bit more even on paper draft-wise, and it's a shift in how it usually goes, because Abrahams generally picks teams, Dan, that are the late game champions. Abraham's, I don't think, wins if this one goes late. I think definitively they probably lose if this one goes too late. So they are all in on the early to mid game slam with their comp, and we'll see if it works and they can run away with it, or if Leviathan can endure the storm and be the new champions of EU.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good question. Like, I'm just super curious about how this is going to work out. So, okay, OCs on Mina, flammable on the Ivy, so it's going to be more of a support Ivy. Fair enough. And that's interesting though, because that allows Ray to play Haze a bit more greedily, I suppose.
Poison's ready.
I think for Rayek, what I really want to take stock of this game is how aggressive the ganks happen once you hit 3 minutes. Because in reality, when you look at how it's set up, it's going to be both Demov and Rayek looking to make opportunities for their team. Like both Viper and Haze look to make things happen once crates get opened up. So we'll see how this one pans out.
Abrams and Viper is kind of a strong mid lane. It's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. I have to say, I do feel like conventionally I would expect Leviathan to win off this draft. Just because it's just kind of like you're saying, if this goes late, and I think Leviathan already showed, even if they're behind, they're good at making the game go late. It does give Leviathan a pretty nice edge. So that kind of means that Abrahams really do need to have a strong impact. They need to get a decisive lead in the early to mid game, you would expect. And so I feel like that's tough. So I'm leaning Leviathan to win this series.
I like Leviathan's odds here, but also the early game pressure can be insane as already we have Viper on the move, going over into the right-hand side. 3-man pressure into the right, but so far, Leviathan is able to kind of suspect that things are happening here, back up, and not fall victim to the early Viper pressure, and instead you take a look at it, it's Demov, a little bit on the run from Ivy.
Oh, by the way, as well, you mentioned that Haze is a problem for the Lash, but so is Overseas, and this is a nice bit of damage coming out here from Flammable into this mid lane. Oh, Abrams is so low. The bomb gets on him as well. He's certainly going to be finished off now. Very nice there. Together gets taken out, and Overseas is a problem on Bebop.
Overseas, there is one point where you could argue legitimately in contention for best Bebop in EU. It was a title that kind of went round and round, especially if you're talking about people like Tass in the conversation. But Overseas, one of the strongest Bebops in EU for sure. Looking over to the right-hand side, where mobility on the map has been all over the place here. Especially as you take a look at middle. And I'm just expecting the next time that we see something like a Haze move towards middle or the Viper take off towards another lane.
Yeah, I agree. Already, I think this game is much more interesting. Saint's going to be playing the support mode, so it's going to be a low econ game for Saints, I would imagine.
Saint just ate a ton of poke there, by the way. A little bit of fancy footwork from OCs. Just rotating around and still able to land decent damage here on the Mina. Things quieting down a little bit. You talk about poke, and OC is going to get tested a little bit 1-on-2 as Freemox said enough was enough. Went back to base to get full heal, and things are getting a little bit frisky once more in the mid lane.
They are. I like this Abrams skin quite a lot. I'm a big fan.
It's grown on me over time. It just it has a simplicity to it that I really enjoy. But okay, just a quick little bomb touch, no hook required. In the middle, and take a look at Lash. Lash is on the rotation here and now for Abrahams. They want a little bit more. Hook comes in. Viper was a little bit aggressive because of Lash coming in. Ends up giving up her life. So even with the rotation, it's not a clean hit.
I feel like once this game gets fully into the deep into the esports world, it'd be very cool if there was essentially teams could request, or they would have to pay modders to build them their team skin, and there's certain guidelines that Valve will set for it. But then that's going to be a cool part of the economy in the future. It's just a fun thing to think about.
It's going to be huge. I definitely think the amount of customization in the game, like what modders like Aze have been able to do early on, it's just unreal, and it really makes you excited for the future and how things will develop. Looking here, lanes have stabilized once more. The rotations have ended for now. You take stock of the game, and it's 21k to 20k. Pretty even here so far, Dan, which realistically, that's a win for Leviathan. The pressure is on Abrahams to be taking over the early game. So the fact that it's even at the moment, really good tidings for Leviathan.
Yeah, it is very interesting. It's very interesting. Oh, there's a swap coming on through. Ray's going to be able to escape. If Leviathan win today, I mean, Ray is I feel like a big storyline.
He's not going to be a sub anymore. He's full roster at that point. Like, I don't know what happens to Empty Dreams, Dan, but you don't go, oh, hey, thanks for subbing and making us #1 in EU. You're off the team, though, by the way. That doesn't happen. Also, chase down, looking for Fremok. Fremok's movement on Shiv is actually just so clean. You know, one of the heroes that has one of the deeper skill curves on movement tech, and Fremok, slippery as a fish, as Seismic Slam in from together, up over the top. What she was looking for in the meantime, but gets the position here on the Overseas into the charge. Siphon Life, and Overseas is getting the evac treatment, the medevac, as it were. Airdrop via flammable, gonna stymie the worst of it.
Yeah, this is actually something I wanted to mention in the draft, but I forgot, which was the Ivy pick is interesting too because of the split push potential, because you can kind of buff up a teammate and then just save them by flying away. So you can create this advantage in rotation, where you force the other team to react, and then you just fly away at the right time, and you can kind of get this, like, you can waste their time whilst you are pushing lanes. So it's Ivy has that's a unique thing that Ivy can do. You know, Mirage, if Mirage is doing that, he has to TP away. You can't take someone with him.
Definitely very, very helpful, as 3 minutes from first buffs and earned coming up, then, you know, in a way, it feels like not that much time has gone by, just on the fact that all Guardians, rather most Guardians still up. Some pressure here from Abraham, though, on the left-hand side. Going a little bit deeper as look to punish Obikin, who's left on his lonesome for now.
Okay, so getting active on the map a little bit. Abrahams, you do have the Sinners spawning, so Abraham's making a go of that left side Sinner of their opponent. Pick that one up. They're going to be getting that, I believe. So good lane control there from them, so for Abrahams. In the meantime, this mid Guardian, pretty weak for Abrahams, definitely looking to defend that. There's a lot of presence here. Leviathan, 3 players on this mid position. They want to get rid of this Guardian.
Looking, hook, not quite going to connect. Yeah, middle, getting pretty intense, but also here on the right-hand side, Nox Nostra being invested by OCs, and, you know, a little bit deeper diving, looking for Sanya, who needs to get further out of the way. Punch in Bebop. You see Abraham bringing the pressure with 3. Goes for the Hyper Beam, and then, nope, maybe not. Was trying to bait out the bola, and does. The problem is it's a lethal bola, so, okay, you've saved your Hyper Beam, but you're still dead in the end.
Okay, well, this mid Guardian is still going to be under pressure after all of that. Leviathan bringing in a lot to defend it, though, so still managing to keep theirs up. So big fight over this mid position. What a spot here on this pillar. Fremok will be able to get out. This mid Guardian still under a big contest.
This is tense. Still, Dimov looking for Obikim. Big catch at the beginning, or rather hoot. Old habits. Dimov was on my second game. Hoot, able to finish it off, which is Obikim, and okay. Defend your slot machine is what we're seeing here from Rayk.
Pretty even game so far. Right side Guardian goes down finally in favor of Abrahams. And once again, a big presence on mid from Leviathan, looking for the hooks, looking for this Guardian. They should surely get it, I would imagine. There's not that much to defend it from this position right now, and an overwhelming sense of players from Leviathan.
Imagine if someone was down. That would have been a ridiculous ground strike. But back at looking at Overseas.
I see Ivy.
Leviathan, open his hooks can make the difference. Off on buffs. Hoot and Dimov able to grab both of them. Combo though. Up and over. Immediately gonna stop though. Airdrop out, and it is the bola comes up into the air. Still may not be enough to confirm the kill. Ground strike coming in towards the end. Who able to set up for 2. And slowly but surely, Leviathan getting kind of run over by Abrahams right as the urn is now being ferried by Obakim.
Okay, so running that one across, indeed on the doorman. And is there going to be a response here? That lane needs to get pushed a little bit on the right side to claim the urn control positioning. It is making its way ever closer now. And what's the decision here for Abrahams? Do they want to trade something, or do they want to fight the urn?
Dan, why is Viscous in the left lane? If the other team's going for urn, your best person to contest urn turn-in is Viscous. And we got Sanya a mile away. I mean, it could work out. I mean, Viscous is still going orange build, and is more of a carry role here. But it's a little bit weird that part of the reason why you pick Viscous is the good ability to test turn. Instead, Abraham's doing it with the whole rest of their team. They're diving on in on the right-hand side. As we see Sanya getting jumped on the left with Nox Nostra. So we got a full team fight on the right, and Sanya fighting for his life here on the left in the 1-on-2.
Wow.
Gonna drop the goo ball through the doors and might have found the way out of real danger, but no, you're still getting hit from Mina towards the end. 120 HP in a dream. Is he gonna get out? It's looking like he's living it.
Dude, that was like computer-assisted movement. I felt like it was too perfect. How was that so perfect? That's crazy. Oh my goodness.
Also, how did no one die on the right-hand side? And you just look at the mini-map and it's chaos. So no Viscous, no problem. Dimov able to find the pick on the Obakim towards the very end, and see where the urn is. The urn is still in control of Leviathan. Flammable taking care of it. Hook comes in here. Is the fall through going to be for Hoot? Bomb comes in. I don't know if anyone else is here to make it happen. Freemock coming in a little bit late. Lands one dagger, but I think enough speed for Hoot to get out.
Yeah, more fights continuing here as well. At the top of the steps, Freemock gets taken down. Nice assist coming on through from overseas, who will get under fire right now as well. Lots of pressure. The door is going to send him all the way back, though, which is going to allow him to live. And super interesting game so far. 10k advantage, though, has mounted for Abrahams. And that is kind of the advantage, I think, that you wanted to see them in. And I think one thing about the solo Viscous is that, in theory, much like an Ivy or a Mirage, you have escape tools with the ult to get away. And so you can apply big pressure, farm up, threaten the Walker, and then just roll away. When you get Amina, though, that silences you, that's really one of the bigger counters, I suppose.
Yeah, and even still was able to live just enough off movement to get away. But yeah, in terms of what both teams are angling for, Abrahams needs to be at this level of up here so far. And it's kind of interesting that Leviathan have turned the urn into a hostage situation. In a way, if you feel like you're going to lose it, it's for the best. As once more, a little bit more pressure coming in the Sanya on the left-hand side. Not as deadly as it was before, because this time you got a Viper backing you up. The bola hitting onto Freemock. And Freemock, with the Paradox coming in, surely is going to be going down here, but still making his best attempt at Shiv's movement to get out. But he's pinned in on all sides, and the punch seals his fate.
Yes, right now it's actually looking really nice for Abrahams. Really solid on that 10k advantage. Here's another connection. The charge comes on through, and conversion onto Ray takes him down under the Walker. And the Hyper Beam is going to get interrupted. Death Slam is looking fantastic there to do so. And with that, here comes the Nox Nostra. And that should be helpful here in trying to slow down this push, but there's actually way too much here. Viper on the other side is going to be able to help deal with the Mina, which will convert now this Walker into their hands. But in the meantime, they are also getting the Walker on the left side, because you got Sanya's Sniper who's just beaming it down.
Yeah, Sanya's just dodging Ivy, getting the Walker, no problem whatsoever. Meanwhile, Freemock gets parried off in the Veil. Absolutely no way out of that situation. And Abraham's getting macro advantage after macro advantage, keeping the pressure up, and Viscous finally probably about to finish off this Ivy in the 1v1. The punch to finish it off with a little bit of style.
Punching strangers would feel so good.
Love Viscous.
Also,
I saw a post on the Reddit that was kind of like showed all the portraits of the heroes, and it's like, okay, what, like when you think of Deadlock, who are the sort of the most iconic heroes, like which heroes do you think of? And it is interesting because I do wonder about that because so many have iconic designs that feel very Deadlock, which is a great achievement from Valve.
It really is. Well, you got the Sleep Dagger, baits out the Bola, and the crew is still here, so the Bola may have been used a little bit early. It stops the bullet dance, but doesn't stop the rest of the pain. Important pick for Leviathan as they want to try and keep this one somewhat close. Also, got to give big shout outs to the $5 donation to the prize pool coming in from the Post Lamp saying, quote, got to do my part so DNS can last longer without a sponsor. We can keep DLNS Pregnant Viper.
There you go. We are so appreciative. You guys are the best. We have the best community for sure. And right now, I feel like Leviathan also needs some support here as EP because they are getting quite poor in comparison to Abraham's.
This is where Abraham's needs to be for the comp they're running, though. And the question is for Leviathan, can they, sneak an earn turner? Can they do something to turn this in their favor? Look here on the hoot. Sip fall through's gonna be knocks Nostra up and over, trying to use the bridge for a little bit of cover. Freemock in the chaos grabs the earn turn in, and that's huge. When you're trying to keep the game close because you want to get more of the late game, it's big for Leviathan, and they even get the pick off on the hoot towards the very end. Kind of a disastrous sequence for Abrahams, but may all be forgotten if they're able to secure the rejuve here in mid.
Yeah, this is going to be very challenging. I don't know that there's timing to get in on top of this one. Is there anything to stop this? No, the rejuve crystals here, all claimed by Abrahams. There's a hyper beam sent on through the stairs here, just trying to see what damage can be found. But okay, well, all three rejuves have been annihilated. That's a massive, massive play from Leviathan. That's exactly what they were looking for. And now it's going to be up to Leviathan to see if they can claim any of these kills on the exit.
That is a ridiculous play. He even gets the hook after the seismic slam. No escape, perhaps, for Together. At least it's going to be a tortured one. After the hyper beam that clears out middle, you get the hook onto the Abrams, and you see Together just trying to draw this out. Lands the parry, gets the charge. I mean, it's a miraculous effort, but the killing blow lands all the same. As Leviathan, what a way to deal with mid-boss. And Dan, you look at the soul economy. They are right back in this game.
Yeah, what was that differential? It was sizable. Was it 20k, 15k? It was around there. That's an incredible turnaround. That is an unbelievable fight into the mid-boss. Such good work. And this is one of the reasons why we've been really pleasantly surprised by Leviathan's staying power when they are behind the game against the best team in Europe. They have somehow been able to always find ways back in or to make the soul discrepancy look a lot better than it actually should ever have right to look. And so now we get the follow-up souls now being claimed in the neutral camps across the map here as we see Leviathan speedily doing what they can to try to catch up, close the difference as quickly as they can. And with that said...
We got clarification from production, Dan, answering your question, saying the difference was about 10,000 pre-mid-boss.
Okay. Not 15 or 20k then, so I was basically completely wrong by orders of magnitude.
Either way, we are back in. And again, I think the real troubling part for Abraham is that they're running a comp that was their window, Dan. They needed the good mid-boss to turn that into a 20k, 30k lead. You don't want this game to go long comp-wise. I mean, yeah, okay, Gun Viscous is pretty good. I don't know if Gun Viscous is good enough to make this comp love getting into a 35-minute slugfest with Leviathan's comp, especially if Freemock continues to absorb farm along with OCs. So for Abrahams, this is the most tense situation they have been in a very long time. Remember, should they lose this map, we will have a new champion in EU. However, the combo is out, and Obakim is getting the business. Petrifying Bola thereafter, everything to stop him from getting through the door, and almost nearly makes it all the same.
I see Ivy.
106k to 100. And if your math no good, that is a 6k difference. 5k now. Good thing I'm here to clarify that. So the assault onto the right side walker now looks pretty good for Leviathan. There's not enough here to stop it. So we'll pick that one up. I don't know that they are vulnerable here to any chase down. Although Mina, OCs, has been caught pretty deep, so be careful. Mina, again, does have the escape tools, though, to weather this one. We'll be okay.
Also, Freemock's out for blood on the same note. He's looking for Sanya. Sanya's low HP, and Freemock is licking his chops all the same. Overseas up, getting caught while that was going on. Viscous was able to shake Freemock, and Overseas ends up paying the price, and Abrahams, they think they have an opportunity here. We'll see where this one goes. Both teams kind of circling around each other. Abrahams a little bit, well, was in pursuit and then quickly thought differently of it. Still have the spirit buff off on the left, which may be contested. You see Viper going up for it, and I think she's going to get it.
Well, Charge connects there onto Doorman. Overkim is very, very weak. The door is up there to try to get an escape, try to get that barrier through to extra survivability. And Leviathan are in trouble right now. They don't have as many players here, and they are getting focused down in this fight, so they have to do everything that they can to survive. Saint and Sanya Sniper of Abraham's getting kind of low here, but still, Abraham's overall looking really good in this fight and looking to claim some more kills as they chase him down.
Lane situation for Abrahams, though, not as good as they've been brawling out here. They get 2 kills, but the next part of the game, or rather, sorry, lane situation for Leviathan, lane situation for Abraham is actually absolutely fine. So Leviathan, not only do they lose 2 kills here, Dan, but they're going to have to spend a little bit of time on maintenance to get some presence back up, and we'll see if they feel good enough to contest this urn. It's going to be a little bit rough. Obakim's coming up a little bit late. You have Bebop kind of in the vicinity, but the lane is still pushed up to the point that I think they let it go.
I see Bebop.
Yeah, this is not an easy one to challenge. So I think you're going to be correct. Indeed, there is the claim for Abrahams. And suddenly, Abraham CP. 15k difference.
From the somewhat disastrous mid-boss, it's a good recovery from Abrahams. Still kept under the guise, though, that they're against the clock to some extent. They need to not really lose a major fight again and get, another walker or 2 down, ideally mid-boss, and put Leviathan out of their misery. They can't really stand to have things get evened up, because I don't think they're going to pull a lead again if it does.
I'll handle this.
I gotta say, I do agree. And the killing blow has been found, though, from Fremog, so that's a pretty damn good pick. You've just picked off the carry of the other team. So that is a good way for Leviathan to begin to get back into things. A 10k difference now, so it looks like things could oscillate back towards Leviathan if they keep this one up. We do see a denied attempt of a pick from OCs, but gets caught there. That's a perfect catch off the Warpstone. And into the Baroness will go the Mo, freeing OCs, who is alive still. So this might backfire massively for Abrahams. They need to not lose a big team fight. And here comes the Nox Nostra over the top to claim this space as Leviathan's property. And they managed to completely command it. And now suddenly there is trouble for Abrahams.
Oh. If that hook had hit, it would have been the stuff of legends. But you got to commend the quick action from Obakim. Combo, my Nina? Absolutely not. Take a free trip to the Baroness Hotel. Dimov, though. Dimov heading back to his neck of the woods. Abrams, charge. Trying to put a little bit of pressure on the ship. Seismic slam, though. The escape ticket out. We see the rest of Leviathan poking and prodding. And did they catch Hoot? Hoot right now is looking damaged. He's sleeping. Don't want to sleep here. The gargoyle slamming down on your face, but is still able to get the movement to get out. And instead, it's Flammable who gets the worst end of that trade. Hoot, a bit too slippery at the end.
Still, though, about a 9 to 10k difference. So it really feels like Leviathan are in a good position here. They do need to clean up that left side lane, which they're doing at the moment. And they are currently also defending this mid-walker. But in the meantime, you have the glass cannon, carry Viscous absolutely blasting with his team. This mid-boss, they are going to force the action here. Leviathan have to respond.
They don't have a Death Slam, but they do have the Bola. The Rejuve is coming on down, Leviathan. How good is your contest going to be? The Doorman door is open. Doorman shenanigans, there's the cart. Not enough to stop the first hit. Rejuve won the Abrahams. All Rejuve charges to Abrahams. And Obakim comes up empty. Abrahams with a definitive edge here and now.
Oh man, Leviathan have managed to deal with a lot of poor situations, but this is really another one of those where they've got to figure out how do they deal with these rejuves, not lose like just all of the objectives, not lose kills. Can they somehow find a place where Abrahams don't get too much value out of this? It's very hard to do. They've done that a couple times so far in this series. They have been called to do it again, and like you said, ZP, I think one difference though is that in the other games where they did that, they did manage to make the games go quite long. And in this game, they do have more of an edge if they are to do that again.
So, as I look at this here, I think for Leviathan, you're going overseas, show us a miracle. if you want to whittle down a rejuvenator, create an opportunity for something to go good, or you just find Sanya up over here and go, you're not immortal. But it's also viscous, so judgment may be wrong. The counterplay coming on in. Tass swaps over, lands the swap. We'll see if Fremont is able to escape. Fremont dying would be disastrous. And the Hyperline! Demov, right place, right time. Hyperline interception. Massive pick on the overseas, where now you don't have to worry about a hook ruining your day for the next minute.
Yeah, this is a massive, massive play. And there's 2 walkers still to be taken. And Viscous is battering those base guardians as well. So right now, attacks on all fronts. The urn has been stolen away. It's a comeback urn. There might be a chance for Leviathan to potentially contest that. Maybe. I don't know, though, because 2 players still down. And there's some pretty quick progress across the map from Saint. So this is a huge threat from Abrahams right now.
Fremont, no fear whatsoever, but maybe he should have feared a little bit as Abrams comes in from the side, crunches him in the closet. It was just a piece of green gooey bait. And when Leviathan came back from Rejuve in the past, Dan, they weren't making these mistakes like Fremont just did there, thinking that Sanya could go down. So this is getting more troublesome by the second for any hope of Leviathan. And wait, does Demov Hyperline again? What in the world? Demov, the Hyperline master. He's not even done it just today. He's done it in previous matches, but the sneakiest of Vipers.
Yeah, Demov really showing the work on this hero, making it look pretty good. Down to 100 HP, still keeping the Rejuve Crystal active for now, as 2 players still out of this one. It's on the bench until they can respawn and losing the walkers. I think that was always expected. It was really about how long can Leviathan kind of force Abrahams to take to do that, to come to that outcome.
40,000 souls. If Leviathan were to complete the comeback now, it would be one of the greatest comebacks in Deadlock history, especially given the stakes. But Abrahams, very likely, are showing why they are the champions. Now looking for the shrines. The miracle hook, not to be. Misses there on the right-hand side. Not likely to have a ton more help here on the left, but we'll see. Flash picks up the Bebop, says, fishing, that's for me. No more threat of the hook here. Shrine is still up, though, but perhaps not for long.
Stop them.
It's not a sniper, that's just basically a machine gun. A turret. And the base is getting absolutely wrecked here. Abrahams laughing at anyone that thought that their trophy was in contest here, CP, I feel like. They pulled out the Mo and the Viper in one draft. And this is the result so far. Absolute domination here. 40k difference in souls.
They may be looking to end it right here, right now. Only 3 up for Leviathan, all still up here from Abrahams. No rejuves, no problem. The patron is getting melted. Leviathan has been a fantastic effort, but all things may have to come to an end. Fremont, though, is 2 killing blows. Said, I didn't hear no bell. Bell still may be ringing, though. Hyper beam down into the pit. Last gasp here. Overseas takes down Sanya Sniper. Hold the phone. Leviathan not done. But the minions, they are done, man. Oh, no. What a way to end.
That's one way to end it. Abraham's 2-1, so not the clean sheet, but the dominance continues. The story of Abraham's owning Deadlock in Europe has been maintained. So good performance from them. Again, I wasn't sure what to expect, CP, but they did it.
I got whiplash from that ending there. It's like, up there in the game. Wait, they're actually miracle defense. Everyone's out of the pit, but you forgot about the 7th man, the Winions, the true MVP at the very end. But that was honestly, what a wild series back and forth. End game, Abraham's put together to get several good team fights in a row, leverage their comp while it's still at max power, and take down Leviathan. But you can't say that it was easy. Leviathan today gave them their best shots that we've seen in months. Yeah, absolutely. I think this was a very interesting series from the draft exchange that we saw. We saw the storyline of Ray fitting into the lineup really, really well as the stand-in, and as a stand-in that was playing different roles. So, I mean, you don't have to just credit that Ray had incredible performances, which I think that he did across 3 different heroes.
which is in of itself remarkable. But also at the same time, the rest of the team adapted really, really well around him, and it did like it never looked like they had a sub playing on their team, which I think was fantastic from Leviathan too. So, there's a lot to be said for what we saw in this game. And I think, at the start of the broadcast, we framed it as in, hey, this Leviathan team, we're seeing evolution. And the evolution just continues. They continue to get stronger and to be more of a challenge for Abrahams.
Some trends go across games. And when this happened, when the Winions finished off the game, there was also the battle cry of C9, which, of course, if you've played any hero shooters other than Deadlock, well, you're very familiar with the C9. And honestly, that's certified. That's authentic. It's farm fresh. It fits all characteristics. Where if people had just stayed on the point and dealt with the minions, I don't think necessarily that Leviathan was going to bring it back. But the chance wouldn't have been zero like it was when you let the minions kill your throne.
Yeah, totally. Those little troopers, man, they add up. And speaking of adding things up, we got the statistics, all of the numbers here. And anything that stands out to you, ZP, other than Viscous?
I think the damage that Demov was putting out was pretty ridiculous and probably a little bit more front-loaded. I think if you go earlier in the games, Demov was likely crushing it. But also, I just think Demov's place towards the end of the game to keep Leviathan off track, get multiple hyper lines, which is almost unheard of, was unreal. But also, I look at Sanya, and Sanya was consistency in the two games that Abrahams won. You can't really ask more from someone in an M1 carry role than what Sanya was able to do on the Warden and the Viscous, where think about the escapes that Sanya had in this game, Dan. It wasn't just the damage, it was the attention that Sanya was drawing and not actually paying for it with his life.
Yeah, totally. I think there was like a really good balance as well from Sanya. We saw him kind of playing the M1 carry role, so you have him in this spot where he's like soloing the left side lane, and he's up against like Mina and other factors. He's not getting it for free, so really showing excellent movement and a Viscous that's just orange that still has really high survivability and high threat potential, which I think is like one of the things about this game is that you want players that are able to create a threat level where the rotation of the opponents is inefficient. So they're bringing over two players to deal with one, for example. Like this is like never a math that you want to have to do to deal with one player.
All right, well, we do have our MVP, and it's a tough call, but overall, you gotta give it to consistency. Sanya Sniper, the MVP for today. Massive performance on the Warden, the actual raid boss in map 2, and slippery as a goo creature could be here on the final map. Just making things happen all day long. And, Last Stand was partially cosmetic at points here, Dan. The real damage, all from the gun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this Warden was particularly gross, and it kind of seems like basically the same hero, as you're saying, just the gun, as we see, and also with the same projectiles. It basically is just Warden reskinned almost in terms of playstyle. That's like the cask instead of the, like the goo splatter. It's actually very interesting, the parallels. But very, very strong, and very strong performance overall, and that was very much needed. I think Leviathan did such a good job in this game. You needed everyone to be on point. Well,
for Abrahams, I'm happy with how things turned out here today. It was good to finally get the money match to 3. It's been a long while, and truly competition is at its best scene-wise when you never quite know what to expect on a given day. And the one thing you can't deny after watching Leviathan has leveled up. I look at a lot of what happened here today, not so much as Abraham's having a bad day or people throwing, but Leviathan looked really good. And to top it off, they did it with the sub and Rayek, where who knows what the roster is going to look like. But man, if you could find a way to keep Rayek on the team and figure that out with Empty Dreams, probably be a good thing, because it was a winning combination here today.
Yeah, totally agree. He played so well. He was the best surprise of today for me. I really enjoyed how well he was playing across the different heroes. And I think, when you get to the Holiday, we're starting to think, maybe what's he going to do now? It's like, oh yeah, he plays Holiday. And then it's like, oh, he was actually a large part of the reason that they stayed in a game they were getting crushed right from the beginning. And it was Ray's like lassos and the picks that was keeping them in the game. So, I mean, just hats off to Ray.
So before we head off to North America, we got our halftime report of the show of hero pick priority and item priority. Of course, opening up with the hero priority, and no one likes the GOAT, or at least no one wants to play against the GOAT. Billy, 4 bans, nerfs or no nerfs, it is still the character that has been priority number 1 to take off the board. Although a lot of that is because people just want to play the Abrams. So really, Abrams has been the most valued hero here today.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point. Abrams, for sure, has been super valued. I think one of the interesting other things to note is the prevalence of haze. I don't think we'll see this in NA. I think this is one of the bigger differences. NA doesn't tend to value haze in the same way, but we could see today, I think, really on full display why haze can be very effective if you know how to use her. I think that was the biggest surprise for me in terms of the priority, was seeing a prevalence of haze. And also like seeing Lash, still, being a very, very strong pickup and having big impact as well.
Also on the other side of things, a little bit tough for those who like to burn Furnace back in the doldrums. Same with Calico Mirage, which is kind of interesting, given that Mirage was a very high prio pick, up until recently, but some of the changes and different takes on the meta have kind of hurt him. I think part of it is whenever heroes like Warden are good, they start stealing opportunities from heroes like Wraith, Infernus, Mirage, and it's just how the teams have been constructed here so far. But definitely an interesting look at EU. We'll take a look at the items before we head off, see if there's any changes. And well, Dan, Cultist still really, really valued.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it again across so many different heroes as a really efficient way to get some of that gun statistic. And obviously, there's just like extra dynamics to this item where it allows people that would be slower to farm to be able to farm a bit more quickly because of those tier 3 camps. You can just like run by and pick them up. And so there's a lot of like reasons why this item is very, very, very good. And it is going to continue to get bought, I think, unless it gets mega nerfed or reworked.
Also, right before heading to break, we've been talking about how you can donate to help the prize pool, as we want to get as much money to players as possible. And right as we're about to go to break, from T Speedman, $100, no donation message, but I'll tell you what the message is. You are awesome. Thank you so much for supporting the show and the players. It means a lot. And with that, that's the best note here, Dan. We're going to go off to a break. When we come back, North America will be on the way. Half the show still to go.